Because I figure the sooner we start, the sooner you can end. And I know you don't want to spend your whole night here. Um, everybody, this is Eric. Eric, this is most everybody. We might have a couple more hopping on. Um, if you would be so kind, start out, give us a couple of highlights on the resume, some of the films that these guys might recognize.
Sure.
And then I know you got some points together. Let's save our questions till the end. So if you think of something, write it down, and then if we got time, we'll go through them. Or you can even put them on the chat, and then Aubrey can go through the questions as well. But maybe we just wait 1 second for Aubrey to get back in her seat, because I don't know if she can hear us. So I'll give you the green light. Hello, Karen. Hello, Sean. Hello, Bill. Hello, Jennifer. There's Aubrey.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I just didn't want him to start. I asked him to start with just a little highlight of his res, and then to go on. If people think of questions, to write them down or put them on the chat, and we'll do the questions at the end. Eric, it's all yours. Thank you, sir.
All righty. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. I've heard a lot about Rick's class, so it's kind of cool to see everybody here. I only brew beer as a hobby. What my normal career is working in picture editorial. I worked in the industry in Hollywood for the last 10 years. I live down here in Los Angeles. I've worked on films in my career from $100,000 little DIY indies to $5 million films, 10, 25. The biggest film I've worked on was $200 million. That was the last Transformers film, The Last Night, with Mark Wahlberg and Anthony Hopkins. Worked on a lot of it's all been studio films ever since those indie days are kind of over. Worked in a lot of horror. Worked on The Nun, which was part of the Conjuring franchise. Worked on the last Grudge reboot. Ouija, Sinister 2, a lot of stuff for Blumhouse and New Line, Paramount. And so work in picture editorial. So we have the upside of sort of, yes.
What was the Helen Hunt that went to Sundance?
Yeah, the Sessions.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
You gotta watch it if you haven't, guys.
Yeah, no, it's a great film. Yeah, that was the very start of my career. Worked on that, both that and a film called Philly Brown, which ultimately led to Gina Rodriguez breaking out and getting into Jane the Virgin, and her career's taken off in those 10 years since. What's that story? Overnight sensation is 10 years in the making, right?
So that's the original that I heard. But in terms of business, and I would say in this industry as well, it's anywhere between 10 to 20 to 25. It really is. Overnight successes take a lot of time and a lot of work.
Yeah. I've also broken out into some other things since then, as the pandemic was sort of slow for shooting and for post. My producing partner and I got into writing and optioning scripts, and have been actively shopping around a number of features in the $6 to $30 million range. Some are spec that we wrote, some we've licensed off of the IP. So I sort of, I've got the whole gamut of things that I've got my fingers into. But for this, we're going to focus on editorial, picture editorial. And I've got some bullet points I'll just kind of go down through and share with you what I think would be great for actors to know about what happens in the cutting room. All right, first point is evolution of the story from script to production to post. Everybody thinks that the script gets bought and everything on that pages gets shot and they edit together and it's just a brilliant movie. The first disappointment with most writers is the fact that they say, what have you done to my script and to my film? Of course, incidentally, I'll lead this off by saying everything I say has just been my experience of it. You're going to know people who say, oh, that wasn't my friend's experience, or oh my God, that's even worse. Then I've heard everybody's mileage varies. Some people get super lucky and the thing that they go out there and make, it's exactly the way they had intended it to be, but usually it's not. There's too many studio execs and other creatives or people who fancy themselves creatives that are in a position of power that give notes. There's an infamous story of Kevin Smith was writing Superman script years ago, and it was an insistence that he put a giant spider in it. And he's like, well, why would Spider-Man fight a giant spider? And just this executive thought that was cool because whatever it was, that gets stuck in his mind. And that since went on to become the giant spider you saw in that, was it that Wild Wild West movie with Will Smith? And, that spider actually was, I think the same studio exec was behind those projects at the time. Anyway, moving on from that. So script to brush into post. So, the scripts are oftentimes rewritten anyway by other writers. They usually stay pretty close to what's there, but oftentimes they go through a whole complete rewrite. Then they attach a director and you think, wow, this is going to be great. Well, it just depends on how good that the director is. I think you've got a lot of, I'm going to use some various examples. I go back way in time and some that are more current, but you look at someone like George Lucas, who is not really a great writer, but with that first Star Wars film, he just had all the right pieces at the right time that made for an amazing film that is legendary. Then you fast forward to, Phantom Menace, and those movies, and you think, oh my God, what happened to the writing, to the directing? Studios, depending upon the budget, they're hiring directors that are first, second, third timers. And they do that primarily because they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay David Fincher rates. That doesn't mean they don't get a talented filmmaker, but you do sort of run that risk now of, can that director see the vision through of that film through the producers and the studio's eyes? So sometimes what might be a brilliant script, what ends up on the screen isn't necessarily there because of budget reasons or creative differences. Then it gets into post, where we look at all that footage and we get to sit back, and many laughs are made at everybody's expense that have made that film. As you see these dailies come in and you wonder why they didn't shoot insert shots of really important things in scenes. You wonder why they didn't shoot wide shots. You wonder why the actors were about as flat as a piece of paper. You're like, who was on set that day to notice this stuff? And it's our job to, of course, make everybody look good. The everybody starts with the actor. It's really our job to make the actors look as good as possible. And I'm actually starting from the standpoint of like physical looks, not taking some weird shot, that the camera's pointed up and you see the back of your chin. I mean, we literally want to pick the best shots that make you look the best. And then of course the best performances as well. Also have to make sure that the director looks good and everybody else involved. And oftentimes, as we start to weave that story together, we realize, wow, that didn't really translate. Either what was on the script and the page, your brain fills in so much. That's why reading novels, you read a novel and you've got all these adjectives and fancy words that tell you what's going on in the story. In the case of the script, we don't have any of that. So your brain fills things in. I think oftentimes the brain fills in more than what ends up being shot if the production is rushed in some way. So then we have to make sure that the story is there and solid. And we're usually fixing things. The less experienced the director, the lower the budget, the more we're fixing things. Every Blumhouse movie that I've worked on, we were just constantly trying to fabricate the scare in a different way. It was shot one way. We have to completely try to do something in post without necessarily a reshoot to make it look better. In the case of something like Transformers, where Michael Bay's got $200 million to spend, it's a matter of, this footage, whether you like Michael or not, whether you like Michael's storytelling or not, the guy makes pretty pictures. And so you've got all this footage and you're like, well, how the hell do we make this go down from 3.5 hours down to 2:45, which is even still 15 minutes too long. And so you usually don't have problems with performances in there and action. It's just a matter of getting rid of things because no one's going to sit through a movie of that length.
I would.
So yeah.
I would.
Yeah. Well,
I miss the epics. Remember we used to get the double VHS boxes, the Ben-Hurs and the
oh yeah, What was the original running length of Titanic? Was that 3.5 hours or 3? James Cameron's Titanic.
Oh, I don't know.
One thing that I usually don't tell people, this is back, I was still living in Pennsylvania at the time. So I wasn't in the industry yet, but for some reason that movie just called out to me, not because of the love story, but I just thought it was really cool that this guy has recreated the Titanic and the event. I just thought it was a good film. And I saw it in the theater 3 times. So it's a good solid day of my life, if it was 3.5 hours lost, but I enjoyed the viewing each time. So, but there's not many films. I still haven't seen the Avengers Endgame, so I just can't sit through it. At this point, I can't sit through movies over 2 hours long. I don't care how good the movie is. So that's the evolution from script to screen. So there's a whole lot of things that really don't make it. There's a lot of really good reasons why they don't. Sometimes there's really bad reasons why they don't, but ultimately it's the editor's job to make it all work. All right, so let's move into some acting related things. Why you need to nail your lines every time. What is so amazing is when you have an actor that gives their line, say 8 takes, so 8 times, and they give it to you exactly the way it's written, the way that everyone has agreed it's supposed to be read, and they just give you slight variations, so you have choices. That is amazing. And the choices are usually narrow. Sometimes they go wide, but it's just so amazing to be able to just have the actor go there and nail their line each time. And you say, well, because if you start and you stop and you're flubbing it, I mean, you're just not in that space, right? And you don't change the line in subtle ways unless the director asks you to. But when you're going through and looking for a great take, you've got these, we'll say 8 takes to choose from, where the line is set perfectly every time. So there's no issues with continuity or with the other actor. You have to change the actual scene because you didn't say one part of your line that is necessary for the reaction of that actor. But now when we realize we're in post and we say, gee, the scene isn't quite as intense as we first thought. So we have 4 takes that are less intense readings. We might have 2 that are super intense, 2 that are kind of in the middle, and then a few that are soft. And at the time, on the shoot day, you might think, gee, this scene isn't meant for that. But there's a lot of value in having those options when you're in editorial. And again, we're piecing together everybody's performances over different takes, and so therefore it's matching things up. Continuity is the least important thing. We don't care that the milk glass is half full in one shot and empty on the next shot. Well, hey, that can be fixed with VFX, but even so, we just don't care, because if that's what you're looking at, then you're not, you're totally taken out. There are some films where I think it's a little weird. Like I think there was a sniper movie with Ed Harris that came out in the 90s, and I think he plays this Russian general or something, or German general, I forget now. And there's a glass of milk on the table, and you can't help but look at it because he keeps drinking it, and that level goes up and down. Unfortunately, it's because he just keeps picking up and putting it back down. But generally speaking, we don't ever cut for continuity, even if there's a bit of a jump cut. It's all about the performance and making sure that the story gets pushed forward. But so therefore, to get your lines, for every actor to get their lines correct and give us options, means it just gets edited together a lot easier. Not easy because we want to leave early that day, but just so that everybody looks their best, and we're not trying to figure out how do we salvage a scene, because the first 2 takes were the actor gave the rest of that line, then the next 2 takes were out of focus or had bad sound. And then the other two takes, they were just shitty. So you have to bear that in mind as well. There's focus. Things aren't necessarily always in focus. The sound recorders, for some reason, didn't get something right, or there was a problem with a microphone, or something was, rustling with clothing. There's a lot of technical things that can happen as well. You don't necessarily catch all of those on set, but we for sure catch them in post. So having those options isn't just for performance, but to really just salvage that whole scene. And as some of you probably know, ADR never sounds the same no matter what you do. It always sounds best when you can record it on set. The next point, why improvisation wreaks havoc in the cutting room. This sort of dovetails in with the last point. If you, okay, first thing I'll say, I've never worked in a comedy, so I can't speak to how that process works. But in every other film, if you're changing your line at every take, we hate you in the cutting room, and we are actually swearing at you. We're making fun of you for the rest of the entire film. You'll never know it. When we meet you, we'll be happy to meet you in person. As soon as you walk away, we're gonna be like, "Oh my God, do you remember that thing?" Because if you're
The
trying
rest
to,
of their career.
well, yes, yeah, these stories never got forgotten, and I'll share a couple anecdotal ones. But so yeah, what happens is that if you change your reading every time, how am I supposed to cut that against the other actor, right? And in some case, just because we're trying to cut for what's the scene trying to convey. Does the actor look good? Is it the other actor's good performance? And if you guys are riffing off of each other, but I can't use the reaction, I've now got a scene that just doesn't work. My partner and I, we shot a low budget film a few years back, and he failed to. And I remember at the time I said to him, I'm like, Ty, you better write out that opening scene around the dinner table. He's like, no, we'll just do improv. I'm like, you better script it. He's like, no. So they sat down and they had this amazing improvisation. It was funny, it was great, but unless you stuck on a 3-shot for the entire scene, it didn't work because every other take, they weren't saying the same line. So therefore you can't build that scene the way that you need to. So don't think that you're being clever by changing it up. Yeah, I'm sure everybody here knows, you always go by the script, then you go by what the director asks for until you're a big shot. Then you do whatever you feel like doing. But hopefully at that point you also know the whole filmmaking process from start to finish and know sort of where you can get away with that and where you can't. So the improvisation really just means make sure that you read your lines the same way every time. Eye lines and marks and why they move. There is nothing more disappointing than having the actor's best take and their look in the wrong place. It's just sad because you either have to send it off as a VFX shot, which there's a lot of actor stuff we send off for VFX work, not just to make them look thinner or something like that, but literally to fix eyes that aren't in the right place or something else really out of the ordinary. But if you don't look in the right place, man, for the most part, we're just going to throw that scene, that take away, and it's really sad. The smaller the budget, the less there is for VFX fixes like that. If it was a really big film, that would be different. But larger films more than likely have actors that just been doing it so long, they just nail that every time. So you got to make sure you're on the right marks, eye lines, and again, it's for the continuity. Even though we don't cut for continuity, we can't have you just moving around the room in different places. Like one time you're over here, and then you're over here, and then you're over there. Cutting back and forth, and it does get the audience will get taken out at some point. Why you and the director should never cut your scene short, even if you flub a line. Ultimately, that's up to the director. I think, and each director is going to do it their own way. They're probably just going to call cut or back to one. But unless you have a terribly bad start and can't get through it, if you're partway through your scene and you flub a line, just keep going. Don't stop. Don't say I'm sorry. Maybe you go back, but you just keep going. And the idea is that hopefully if you can do it where you don't even stop, you just go. Like you were tongue tied or something, but you just keep going. Because if you're in the right space, that could be an amazing performance, and we can cut around that little flub. But if it's starting and stopping and starting and stopping and restarting for 14 times, we're sitting there in the cutting room again, just being like, oh, like, first of all, why couldn't you get your line right? You know, I mean, the actors, you know, in theory are paid a lot of money to do that. I realize, you know, most everybody that works, we work on smaller films, and you know, the money is what the money is. But you know, the idea is that everybody on the film is a pro in what they're doing. You know, it includes the actors getting their lines, being able to get through their takes. So just get through it the whole way through. We can do a lot more with that than starting and stopping. I worked on the movie called The Bye Bye Man, and one of the guest actors was drawing a blank on her name. The actress Bonnie and Clyde, again opposite.
Faye Dunaway.
Yeah, Faye Dunaway had a part in it. She's a lovely actress. She had a scene, and she just couldn't get through that scene. She just kept having to stop. She forgot her lines. She's like, line, 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 line. We pieced together the scene from, I think, I don't know, 14, well, many, many takes, but words inside of those lines. So we were constantly having to cut away from her to cut to something else in the scene, and literally piecing together bits and pieces and phrases of words. That's because we never didn't necessarily get any complete readings from her. Obviously, then you try to make a sentence sound correct when you're piecing it together from 5 different sentences. It's not easy. And I don't think we had her for ADR. She probably couldn't have gotten through it anyway. I'm not criticizing, just, you know, being practical. And so, you know, so we were in the cutting room, and it was just, you know, it was really sad. You know, it was just kind of sad. And of course, we also had some, you know, a few chuckles over that as well, because we know what she's capable of, you know, and it was just unfortunate that this is how it came to be. And I think we put together some little supercut of all of her not being able to get through reading the
wow.
quite entertaining, but it's never left the cutting room.
Sure.
Let's see. Performance is in the eyes. There's moments in the cutting room when the actor gives their line, and we just sit back and we're like, wow, just wow. It's like a moment of silence when they're just on it. You can tell they're in the space, right? They're in that moment. They're in that character. They're in that situation. And there's nothing you would change with that take. You're not going to cut away from it. There's no eye blink you have to fix. It's just amazing. I remember in Philly Brown, there was one particular scene, I can't recall which one it was now, but Gina just gave this line, and it was amazing. I was like, wow. And we just, you know, that went into the movie straight away, never got changed, you know. That doesn't happen often, you know. I mean, it also depends upon what the genre of film is, you know. I mean, if it's an action film, there's probably nothing terribly heavy being said, so any or all of those takes works. But when you're in more of a drama or some other, you know, really emotional scene, that's when that really comes into play. And you can always, it's all body language. You can tell in the body language, you can tell in the eyes, and it's weird. It's just there's just something about the face that goes away, you know. I guess it's maybe perhaps the actors, no, they're not acting, right? They're being, and you can't fake that. And it's just kind of happens. Rick would know more how to get there than I would. All I can tell you is when we see it, we're like, that's amazing. But it really is, it's subtle, but when you see it, it's just priceless. Which leads us into the opposite of that, which is why being overly expressive with your face and body doesn't work. Rick and I were chatting about this a few days ago, and theater is theater. Perhaps there's, you know, exaggerated movements that have to happen there, but on features, perhaps television as well. But you know, I work primarily in features. You know, we're on you. You know, we're not on extreme wide shot for the most part, and so you know, you're filling the frame, kind of like you are here. And if you're making funny faces because you're trying to act, oh, it's just just sad, and sad in like the most unfortunate way, because somebody is trying, like they're trying to get there, they're trying to be there, but they're not there for some reason. And I think maybe there's a moment of panic where maybe they just think, okay, well, if I look like I am upset, or if I look like I'm happy, or if I look like I'm confused, then that will overcome whatever words that I'm saying or how I'm saying them. And usually it just never works. I was editing a short film recently, and one of the actresses isn't as experienced as the others, and that was her constant um, problem, was that she would just make screw up her face, like, what, and I mean, you kind of laugh here, you're looking at me because it looks funny, right? What do you mean? But like, that's what she would do and stuff, and you can't, it just doesn't work, it just doesn't work. And so I would almost prefer people being deadpan and having nothing on their face, because at least there it's just it's bad in its own way, but at least you're not trying to now cutting away from the actor, right? For that reason, I mean, this actress in the short, we ended up just cutting a lot of her lines out because she couldn't get through the lines, or was making funny faces the entire time, and that's not what you want to do either, because everybody was working hard that day, including her. But you can't put something in that doesn't make her look good and doesn't make the film look good. So whatever exercises you guys do and go through to just be as natural as possible. On the other side of that,
I use the cane, and I just lashes,
Yeah,
So we work it for sure.
beatings are a great way to solve that.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, I worked on a film for Paramount called Body Cam, and Mary J. Blige was the lead in it. I think she was doing the Umbrella Academy at the same time. I have not seen Umbrella Academy. I hear it's good. I haven't seen it, but her performance in Body Cam was just flat the entire time. It's just flat, but you can at least kind of like pretend that that's just her character is just lifeless, as opposed to her performance being lifeless. So how and why we piece together performances from multiple takes. I kind of talked a little bit about that with Faye Dunaway. It depends. I mean, in that case, we had to fix that because we didn't have it. In some cases, there's just a scene where the actor had great readings, but it just wasn't necessarily the whole way through. So if it's a longer scene, longer line, we have to piece it together, perhaps to just get a nice, good, solid, consistent performance, which is why reading your lines the same way every time is really important. And even if the director only wants you to read them one way, at least now we have 8 takes to choose from of the one reading versus fewer of that. And in some cases too, the piecing together, it's also not necessarily piecing it together, but breaking it apart. In some cases, the scenes are just longer than they need to be. You're in the edit, and it's just the movie's running long, or just that scene is just slow. The scene is slower than you thought it was going to be, and so now you need to tighten it up. Usually, taking lines out is a lot easier because everything else around it matches. But we are always, piecing together things either to make them longer, usually shorter. Length is never the problem. Very rarely is it. It's only length only if a problem if you're working on a really low budget film where they just didn't have many shooting days. Then sometimes you're left with a film that's too short. But most films, there's way more on the screen than is necessary. And you just start cutting scenes out, and you can just tell. It's pretty interesting. You see movies and you think, oh man, I wish they left certain scenes in. Well, sometimes there's real reasons why they're left out. They just don't fit the story, they don't fit the characters. They were cool, or they're cool if you're a huge super fan, but they just didn't work otherwise. And then the last bullet point I have here, and we can get to some questions if you want, is you aren't fooling anyone by phoning in your performance. I know I think acting is probably going to be well, I think acting is the hardest job, period, because you have to have a presence on screen. You have to be able to perform and read these lines. You have to also do whatever action is required. You have to have a certain look. You have to have a certain personality. You got to be able to get along with everybody. You got these crazy long hours. I mean, it's a really probably the most difficult job in Hollywood. And also you have to be 100% all the time. You're going to be on it the whole time, whether you're hungover, whether you're, or high, or whether you're tired, or whatever you are, all of those things, you just got to make it work no matter what's going on in your personal life, so on and so forth. But we can spot in an instant when people just aren't on it, and that was, and I mentioned, body cam, and that was a case in point. We're just married, just wasn't, at least it seemed to us, at least, that she just wasn't in it. She was there, she was doing her thing, and but it just was kind of lifeless, and so the expression phoning it in came into play a few times, so yeah, you really just got to bring your A game at all times, and if you can't, then you need to talk to whomever, to the director, and figure out how you get to your A game. But yeah, things become really apparent in post. There's a lot of things that you don't see when you're shooting that come up later. I'm not just talking about things in the background that you didn't realize were there, but even just things with the actors. I remember on one film I was working on years ago, I was cutting to the scene, and his husband and wife are having this breakup, and they're leaning down on the bed, and we cut to a close up of her face, and and she's kind of, you can tell she's sad, right, and whatever. And then what I didn't realize is that when we took it to a screening room, it was, so rather than work on this 23-inch size monitor, now we're looking at say a 10-foot wide screening theater. And suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that there was a tear coming off of her eye. And so there's a lot of little tiny things like that sometimes we don't even see until we get it onto a larger screen. In that case, it was just really awesome that was the take that I had picked, but I never saw it. I hadn't seen it up until that time. And there's been other films as well that I've worked on where the movie got a lot better, seeing it on the bigger screen, or things that you felt were kind of flat in the cutting room really came to life on the bigger screen. It's just because you can just see more, right? And isn't it, we live in a fascinating time where everybody's being told that cinema is dead, and going to the movie theater is dead. And I'm talking pre-COVID. The COVID thing is a whole other thing, right? But people have been saying the death of movie theaters ever since Netflix started streaming films, and a lot of people in the industry don't believe it, because we don't make these films to be shown on televisions. We don't shoot these to be shown on iPads and iPhones. They're mixed on big stages. They're mixed to be Dolby 5.1 or Dolby Atmos, things that your phone, even if it has it, Dolby Atmos on your phone does not mean you suddenly, it projects a speaker over top of your head and all around you, so all of these films are made for the large screen, and everything else that they do to get them on a small screens are them tossing things out. You know what I mean? They give you different mixes. Sometimes the actual mix is different. They might change the color looks on certain films, but yeah, as they go down to different size screens, they do stuff with it, and they change it from its original intent. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is that there's really no substitute for seeing a film on a really large screen. I'm not sure comedies need to be seen in movie theaters, aside from the audience participation, but of course, any big drama, period piece, action film. But just know that everybody intends, these things are made with the intention of being seen on large screens. And I think even Netflix, I think they bought the American Cinematheque Theater, and I believe they do screenings of certain of their bigger films there as well. So like if you wanted to see Six Underground on something bigger than your television, you could go there and see it. So it might not get a typical theatrical run. But I've also read that, I think last year I think it was called the Paramount Law, but it was the law enacted back in the 30s, 40s, I forget exactly when it was, that disallowed movie studios from being involved with the exhibition of movies because it was turning into a monopoly where they were just only showing their own films. Well, that law got struck down, or it finally expired last year, I think, or the very end of 2019, which means that studios can go and buy movie theater chains now and start, and do something with them, which I think is a great idea. Especially after this past year when theaters are just gotten crushed. I mean, if you could, it's kind of like ArcLight, right? We all like the ArcLight because it's cool. There's a restaurant, there's a bar, they have props in there, they have a little store. It's fun. It's cool. It's more than just going to the ratty old theater on the corner like when we were kids. And so I think there could be something really awesome if Amazon has some of their flagship theaters, Netflix, Paramount, Universal. I'm not sure where they all are in that headspace with doing that, but I know I think, are legally able to now. But anyway, always presume that if it's a feature film, that you're going to be on the big screen, and so everything you're seeing is going to be amplified there. And even television, TV is so much better these days. It really should be seen in the big screen as well. But that's obviously a different genre. So those were the story points. Those were the points where I wanted to talk about. And I guess, Rick, I'll hand it back to you. And if you want to get some questions.
Yeah, thank you. The televisions are getting bigger, though. I mean, my first TV that I bought, very proud of, was 21 inches. Right? I was in college. Toshiba that I got at Costco. And when I left LA, we actually gave it to a friend. It's still alive, still being used. And now we have 80-inch, right? I just went to my buddy's 50th birthday party. He redid his basement. He has a 15-foot high-def screen theater. He has a movie theater he built. It's phenomenal. And yeah, when it's high def, man, we're under the microscope, as I've talked about.
The one quick thing I'll say to that, though, here's the one catch that most people don't realize is that the televisions aren't set up properly for viewing films. They're all set with the high refresh rates. You ever go to whether you're in Best Buy or somebody's house, you're like, why does that movie look like a Mexican soap opera? And that's why they've got it in this weird mode that just really either hyper exaggerates the colors, but it's a high refresh rate, 120 hertz to 240, which if you want to play video games, that's awesome, right? You want your first person shooter to go as fast and smooth as possible, but feature films, are not shot, with something that looks proper at those frame rates. That's why, if you ever saw the three Hobbit films, those were shot at 48 frames per second, and they just it just doesn't look quite right, But anyway, so yeah, TVs, you have to make sure that if you really do want to enjoy it, whether your television's a 50-inch or more, whatever the size is, that you're on a cinema mode and have all that other high refresh rate stuff turned off. Otherwise, you're looking at something that it was not intended to be looked at by the film.
Yeah, it's off. Tom Cruise, I forget which director, they did a PSA about that, instructing people what to switch over to and how to, because film was not designed for that, and people had no clue. So I do have a question to kick us off here that's kind of combining a lot of what you had mentioned in terms of coming through the eyes, and those moments when your moment of silence, as you said, right? When you'll sit back in the editing room. Do you or have you ever found yourself cutting to an actor who perhaps is, as we would say, in that moment, but perhaps isn't the one speaking in the scene, but you can just, they're reacting, their listening is so present, so powerful, you choose them silently listening as opposed to the one who's actually speaking?
Absolutely. The best cut you can make is not making one, right? If you cannot cut away from something because it's so compelling to watch, that is absolutely huge. Yeah, and there are going to be performances where you don't want to cut away from perhaps the person that's listening because of what they're unfolding on the screen. The other actor might have just as an amazing of a performance, but it's perhaps whatever. I can't think of necessarily one off the top of my head, but let's just say you've got one person in your relationship explaining why they don't want to be with the other person, and what they're saying isn't really as important as what the reaction is of the other person. And if they're unpacking that in a way where you just slowly see them, things going on, like they're thinking, their characters thinking all these things and slowly transforming because of what they're hearing. Yeah, we definitely try to stay on those, and we don't ever want to cut away. We usually have to cut away because something stops working right. It's the actors, the line goes sideways for some reason, it just was super intense and then dropped, or vice versa. So yeah, we're cutting away because we have to for some reason, not because we want to.
Awesome. Flink, I think I saw you popped up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I think I know. I just wanted to clarify. So you keep talking about it's important that you're delivering your lines every time the same way. Are you talking about are you literally saying the words themselves, or just the intent and the meaning and the I guess the emotion that you're conveying is kind of the same?
Both of those things, yes.
Okay.
Not only all those lines that you're supposed to be reading off the script, but as well the same mannerisms, right? However you need to emote it for that scene, same way. If you're again, if you see really talented actors and they know what the vibe of that scene is, and they'll give you a few takes in that, and you've got 3 backups, we'll say, you know what I mean, if there's 4 takes of it. But in some cases, depending upon what the scene is, you'll just get different reads of it. So like I mentioned, some will be higher, lower, but definitely the consistency of both of those things. And it's because you want to have backups in the case of technical problems, or just one of those lines could just be so amazing, and you're just glad that you have it.
So yeah, just to add, yeah, and this is different from what we hear a lot, but we're oftentimes speaking in terms of auditioning. You can mix it up, flip it up. Once you get to set, remember the editor, right? Don't have them make a special reel of you, because they will. You just heard it. You want to keep the words the same. There can be variance. We're still telling the same story. Hopefully we're on the same page of the story that we're telling. So the takes aren't going to be that emotionally different, but we can't have intensity. We can't have staying inside of certain parameters, right? But yeah, keeping the lines the same is going to give them the best options. So I'm glad you asked that, because yeah, I did think about that and clarifying that. There can be nuance inside of performance, but know your lines. That's your job. Yes, Aubrey, you're muted.
Can you talk a little bit about lav mics versus the boom mic? And can you theoretically shoot an entire film with just a boom mic?
I guess it depends what the setups are. You're going to have a guy with very sore arms, depending upon what those scenes are set up like. But no, exactly. But you've got the boom and the lav, and they capture 2 different things, and they're sort of used as they're a backup. We usually, it depends too. Like, I can't say we don't choose one over the other. Some cases the boom gives you a better sound. Sometimes the lav does, but depends how well mic'd that you are. I think folks, onset sound mixers that aren't as experienced don't know how to set the lav into some costumes. So all you hear is, lines, there's clothing is moving. And so you're grateful for that boom, but then you also need to make sure that your boom guy is 100% on it, but no, always shoot with lavs and booms. And a boom only, like I said, it really depends upon what that setup is. If you're going to go like super duper wide, your boom operator, you're going to see him or her. So, so you're going to have to use lavs in that case. And then of course, ADR, you don't want to do ADR. ADR is done for two reasons. Number one is to fix problem. Well, it's to fix problems and to re-record for alternate cuts of the film where you got to take out profanity and whatnot. Actors hate that. Actors hate having to go in and read lines where they don't say shit and they have to say shoot. They hate it. We have some actors, some directors don't even want to be in on those sessions. Some actors won't even do it. But usually you're in there, ADR is to fix problems, either a technical one, which, so be it, or in some cases you're having to re-record the audio for certain lines or scenes because it just didn't work out. Like, regardless of what you did that day to edit together that scene, it just didn't read right, ADR is oftentimes used for...
And for...
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but we had a question in the chat. Can you explain what ADR means?
Oh yeah, ADR is the same thing as looping. So ADR, it's additional dialogue recording, also known as looping, and that's when you go into a sound stage and you are re-recording lines from the film. And it's usually done, as I was saying, to fix problems where, let's just say it was a super windy day and you just hear the wind the whole time. So you'll go back in and you'll re-record those lines, and so they'll have that scene, the edited scene up there on this big giant screen. There'll be time code you put on, you'll be standing in front of. They'll have you laved, and they'll have a microphone in front of you there, and they'll put a pair of headphones on, and you'll hear the scene unfold, right? Then you'll hear a beep beep beep, which is your cue to start your line. So you have to basically know what your timing is of that scene, what you were saying that day. It's really hard.
Yeah, I think it happens less and less. But if you've never done it, it's also very intimidating. You're in the sound booth, you got the headphones on, and it's that deep, 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 and then then you have to imagine the fourth silent.
Yeah.
Now you're on. Wait, do we go on 3 or on 3, right? It is, and there used to be, I think, in old Hollywood and everything, there was a lot more of that. Obviously, with voiceover, with animation, that's the world. Now, but even animation has changed because it used to be, you really do have to match the animation. They can play so much with sound. I mean, I did a whole series. I had a character, it was a Japanese manga that they dubbed over, but they weren't as precise because we can lengthen, we can shorten, they could do so much with sound now also. Bottom line, yeah, you still got to know your stuff. I had to do it for my first episode of Z Nation. I had to go back in and if you're paying attention, you can catch it usually. First round, you're not going to notice it, but if you watch a second time, you're like,
oh yeah,
oh, that's a little off there.
Yeah,
right?
It never, ADR just never sounds quite right. And they do as much as they can to make it sound like it, but it's just, it's like if you talk in your bedroom, it doesn't sound the same as talking in your bathroom. And every set is that same way. They've all got their own sort of sound field. But so with the ADR, yeah, once those beeps go, then you have to then say your lines, and you have to say it so you're in sync with yourself. So there's a timing element to it, and you also have to be back in a character. Some actors are really good at it. Like Mary Blige, she was really good at it. Jessica Alba, she's good at it. I mean, most actors I've seen are pretty good at it, but they've also been acting for some time. And then other times the ADR is going to be used because there's a lot of films, well, whenever you see a scene and, you see an actor on the screen, but the other actor is talking, and then you cut, and then you're looking at the other actor, but then the other actor is talking. So basically nobody's talking on screen. That's usually because there was such a problem with the performances or that scene that they had to rewrite those lines. And so they'll in ADR, so we'll usually just do 80, we'll just do it ourselves in the cutting room. And then when we get to the actual stage, we'll re-record those actors reading the lines for whatever, that scene now is supposed to be. So at least you don't have to lip sync, but you still get to fit it in for timing, but there's a lot of that. That's almost always a fix. When you're hearing words off screen, but you're not seeing that actor, it's because something in that scene just didn't work out. And then the other thing, which is really cool, I don't know if you have ever talked about it, but loop artists, it's a great gig if you can get it. Where it's just the folks that record all that like walla in the background, that like background party noise and people talking, like, oh hey, how are you? Oh, so all that background stuff. And in some cases there's some featured elements of that as well. But there are these little teams of people. They're usually hired in teams, and there's usually one ring leader who is known his or her compatriots, and they'll go and they'll be in the ADR stage, and they'll be just some party scene, and they'll just be doing their thing, and then I worked in a film called Wolves at the Door, and there was a scene. It's about it was a fictional sort of, well, it was a home invasion take of the Charlie Manson murders of Sharon Tate and her friends. And there was a scene where one of the family members pulls up to the driveway, and they open up their car door, and you hear the radio, and there's a sportscaster talking about some Dodger game from the 70s or whenever it happened. And we think at the beginning we took some stock piece of something stock we found off the net, but when it came time to actually record it, the studio needs to own that stuff, and they don't pay for stock stuff necessarily in that way. So we had someone from the loop artist. We put together for him a script of that baseball game, and he just read, he just used his best sportscaster voice, and that's what we put into the radio. So there's a lot of that. So I don't think they ever get necessarily, it's not like he's got a credited speaking part, but he's definitely part of the loop group. But that's all SAG work. It's relatively lucrative. So that's something to check out if you guys are.
Do you have to know? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you have to know how to be an actual sound engineer or editor to get into that line of work?
No. So normally if you're on, well, again, COVID's kind of changed some things, and technology has changed some things, but at least put those aside for a second. You're usually going to be called onto a recording stage. So, it's just you having agents, or you're part of, different companies that represent loop artists. And so you'll just go on set, and, you'll just, have all of your lines and whatnot. You'll just watch the film and do it. In the case of things, there's a lot of like voiceover work. No, I'm not talking ADR per se, but voiceover that you can do from your home studio. You set up a bunch of moving blankets in your closet, and get a nice mic and whatnot. And people are doing audiobooks that way, and voiceover and commercial spots and whatnot. I mean, that's definitely a thing. And I think, but unless you're really well established in it, it's sort of like indie film, where you're doing it, you're making a couple bucks, but you're not paying the mortgage that month with it. I think any real gig, you're probably going to be going into a soundstage somewhere, or you've got a really elaborate setup because you're somebody who's been doing it for a long time, and you're getting really big gigs, and you just do it from home. I'm trying to think, it was it Ron Livingston, I think is his name. He was a voice for Volkswagen at one point, and I've also worked in a lot of television commercials, and he came in one day to do some voiceover for a Volkswagen spot, and he sat there on the couch with his parents longer than it took him to read his lines in the recording studio and then going home. It's kind of a joke, but He probably made 150K or something from that.
Yep.
Yeah.
The at least when I left LA, the top paid gigs are animation. Those are the superstars of voiceover.
Yeah.
And those guys, their demo reels would have 25 to 30 different voices. So that's what you're up against. You know, you can go through some of the old Disney and realize that Winnie the Pooh is also the snake in, you know, Jungle Book, and you're like, oh no, you know, but oh yes, you know, these guys, and then you got the postman from Cheers, right? He does a bunch of them in the newer ones. So yeah, these I'm not I'm not trying to dissuade you. I'm just saying if you're going to do it, you got to be a pro, and if you want to make a living at it. But yeah, there are still those $150,000-$200,000 gigs that can happen in a day. So
Yeah, it's all, I mean, any job in this industry is really difficult, you know? I mean, they're all hard to get. You know, not every, you know, if there's only 100 features made a year, that means there's only 100 editors being hired, you know, amongst the thousands that might be out there. So there's other, you know, there's other things out there as well, from episodic, excuse me, and just alternate programming and so forth. But yeah, I mean, VO work, you know, acting. I mean, again, it goes back to acting. The hardest thing for me with what I appreciate about actors is that it doesn't matter how great of an actor you are if something about you doesn't fit that role. I think we're at a point where maybe now where roles will be changed a bit. You know, like we don't necessarily need to have a man play a certain role. You know, depending what the role is, a woman could play it, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a person of a certain color. You know, if the script is written in a way where that isn't important to the story being told. Um, but you know, you just take a look at so many films, is you just have to fit some age range or gender or physical appearance, and it's just tough because it doesn't matter how good you are, if you don't fit that role. And so anyway, and I just say that to give kudos to actors, because I know it's you know, no matter how good you are and how much time you spend at your craft, sometimes it's just you know, you're just not the date for the prom that night. So
do we have any more on the chat there, Aubrey?
drone boom.
On the chat, drone booms. Yes, Sean Brow would like to know about drone booms.
If
that's
you've
a thing.
ever have you ever heard a drone flying?
It's so loud. That's why that will never happen.
Yeah, I don't see that. There's none that I'm aware of. So
We're not
Well,
hearing
I have
yet.
like two more.
What's
Oh,
that?
sorry.
Well, no,
Listen.
Sean was there. You are. She was
Yeah.
saying something, but we couldn't hear.
With a drone, and I'm like, wow, that's really noisy. So that's
Yeah.
what I wondered, whether they've got them sophisticated enough to be able to carry a boomerang.
Yeah, no, no, not
No,
but what they
Yeah, not until we get into the magnetic levitation.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be cool?
what they do have, I just a sound person just told me about, is I think Sony now, I'm not sure how much they cost. I don't know if you can buy them yet, but Sony has, I believe it's Sony. There's a pair of headphones now that can replicate what it would sound like if you were on a proper sound stage mixing a film in 5.1 or Atmos.
Whoa.
And they have it, it's, you know, I don't know if there's multiple little, you know, speakers in there, but however they've done it, they'll test, you know, they'll put all these sound guys on a stage, and they'll play a scene with all the big speakers around, and they'll have them put the headphones on, and I'm told that it's identical. So that's pretty cool. And so that might give people the opportunity to be able to, you know, shrink the size, the footprints of places down. Of course, you know, the caveat is, you know, every person in there has to have that, you know, pair of headphones. And I still love going into the big giant sound stages, or the, you know, mixed stages and whatnot, just because it's a fun experience. But I do know the technology with headphones is getting pretty crazy for high level work, but not drone booms.
Yeah.
Someday.
Someday. Yeah.
Yeah. Aubrey.
Does anyone else have a question? Because I've got questions.
That's all right.
Does anyone else need to go? No?
Go
I have
ahead.
a non-actor question. You talked about, cleaning things up with the VFX. Do you do the edit? Does the editing process, is that before the visual effects are added, or before, after, both?
It's all during. So, and it also just depends what it is. So you work in a movie like Transformers and you've already got all this pre-visualized stuff. So you have something to kind of drop in. But if it's certain live action things, you're just, you're looking at actors, and instead of robots in the background, there's just some like stick, as to where that robot is supposed to be. Or of course you get green screen. And so you just have to kind of imagine what's going on in that background and kind of do the timing. And it sort of becomes this like push pull of the editor kind of does the timing as they need for the scene, and then the VFX people will just make whatever needs to go in there to fit that timing. And if for some reason there's something was misunderstood about what's going on in the background, then it might lengthen that shot perhaps. But the VFX, so with the Marvel movie, that stuff, you have to start doing that from the moment you start. In some cases, if the smaller budget, you already know what those VFX shots are going to be, or you're just doing things to fix things. Like, you got to paint something out of the background. There's a coffee cup, water bottle, power lines. An actor literally, their eyes were supposed to stay open because they were dead and they were blinking. They're dead and you can still see them breathing because they couldn't hold their breath for whatever reason. And then, or there's a lot of little fixes. You'd be surprised at the amount of little things. I mean, you usually don't do it unless it's important, but some cases it's just, there's a general cleanup of stuff, or you just realize that a certain shot might look better, with something else done to it in some fashion. Really just depends what the film is, but it's, you usually know from the start, the big VFX shots, and then the fixes you start to figure out as you move along. One of the biggest things that happens is split screening or comping other things in. So where you have two actors side by side in some fashion, but they're separated, and if the camera is locked off, at least the actor on the left nailed it, the actor on the right didn't nail it for that take. So you take their performance from a different take and you just seam those two. That's what Fincher does. If you ever notice a lot of his stuff, it's locked off shots and the actors aren't necessarily always close because he does that a lot. Other cases too, like one of the horror film I worked on, the action, there was 4 characters in it in the scene, 2 in the front or 3 in the front are doing the right thing. The one in the back wasn't doing the right thing, so we painted her out and put her in from another take where she's better doing the action that was necessary. And that stuff, you really don't know about that until you're in the cut and you just sort of look and you say, all right, does that scene play? Or does it need some help?
Awesome. Are you good for a couple more, Eric?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Aubrey, go ahead.
So when are you the person that gets to decide when they need to do pickup shots?
It depends. Like oftentimes the show, they already kind of know that certain stuff they didn't get, like sometimes they'll know it that day. Let's just say they ran out of time or something, so they'll have some of that. But oftentimes, once we're through the edit, and then somebody will say, oh, where's blah blah blah. We're like, we don't have it. We're like, oh, okay. So you start putting together a list of things you're going to get on another day or two. I think every feature I've worked on has had some number of reshoot days, ranging from a couple days to a couple weeks. Just kind of depends. But you sort of build that list as you go along.
Is that ever something that the actor can request if the actor feels like they walked away from that day not doing their best work? Is that something that the actor can ever go to the director and be like, I want to redo that? Does that ever happen? Or
if you're Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically you have to know your shit.
Yeah.
Or that's it. You get one shot. You get one shot. Okay.
You could certainly ask the director, hey, do you mind if I do this one more time? Sometimes you can ask for another take.
Like in the moment.
Yeah. In the moment. Yeah. But after the fact, no. And they'll probably be really nice and polite to you. And then, then that night over beers, they're laughing about it.
Would you believe?
So there's a lot
would
of
you
shit
believe
talking.
what she asked
There's a
me?
lot of shit talking. And then my other question was, have you ever gotten so attached to a written script that it made it difficult in the editing room to cut things out?
Oh God, no. I mean,
Oh, really?
It's so different. The thing, right? A script, it's the basic skeleton, right? And it's what you shoot that's the film. And yeah, there's obviously lines of dialogue and there's scenes, but they never come out the way you imagined them. You read a script and in your mind, even if you're reading a novel, you're picturing it in your head, but I'm sure what I picture is not the same as what you picture or anybody else does. And so, when you have the footage that you have and you're like, oh, okay, so that's how that's going to look. Well, I kind of thought that would be bigger or smaller or scarier or whatever. And you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, you end up just having to work with what you have. I don't know. I mean, sometimes in scripts, there's some cool scenes, that maybe didn't get shot, because they ran out of time and had to make that choice that day to just not shoot that scene. And you always kind of wonder, oh, what would have been like if we had that scene? But again, usually you have too much stuff that you need to get rid of, or you realize you have just a lot of crap that's not good. So you have to just make the best of what else is there. But the one thing I'll say, I don't know if editors will admit to it, or maybe it's just me, but I definitely have grown attached to certain actors by seeing them every day, which is really weird because when you go meet them at some party and you're like really friendly and they're like, who are you? Because and then
I've been with you every day for the last 9 months.
Exactly. So it's like I feel like I know you already, and so there's just the level of comfort that I have because I've exactly like you said, Rick, I've been looking at you for nine months, and meanwhile you've never met me before. And for the few times that's happened, I've mentioned it, and most actors totally got it because they're like, oh yeah, I totally get it. You weren't the first person who said that to me, but yeah, so I try to keep that in check. But yeah, it's like, hey, how are you? And they're like, I don't know you.
Well, I'd say that's a good thing though in terms of the actor's performance, because you're not getting attached to someone that's doing a crappy job. So yeah,
that's true.
It's a compliment. Here's one that just occurred to me. Might be a silly question. Do you read the script? How often do you read the script? Do all editors read the script? How much of that is a part of your process before you actually sit down with footage?
Can you segue that into my question? Because I think of editing as all post-production, but do I understand he comes in way before to really advise and such then?
No, the editor is not brought in on the story building side of it, but we will get the script so we know what the story is, and then so we know what we're going to be cutting. So no, we definitely read it. I mean, if the editor is brought in early and if they're asked to give notes, then you certainly will. But usually what happens is you're sort of giving notes to the director, perhaps, if something isn't quite working out, right? Because let's face it, they really don't want anybody else's opinion. Directors and writers think they know all of it, and the producers do. And who are you? You're only the editor, or you're only the set designer. You know what I mean? But as you go along though with the cut, the editor does have to be aware of things that aren't working out. So if there's a part of a scene that just isn't working, you got to tell the director about it, or inserts that you might need. So yeah, you sort of have to you have to be practical about that. And then where the creativity ends up coming in is, again, it's not necessarily at the script itself, but when you've got the material and you've cut it and it just doesn't work, like what was written and what you have doesn't work. So then you're rewriting it in a way, you know what I mean? but it's because you have to, because what was written wasn't quite shot that way or didn't work out. But there's times when I know we on certain films, they've asked us to help them put together story ideas for reshoots and whatnot, but it's not usually, the editor's is there to, they have a really important job, but they're a hired gun. They the filmmakers value their experience, but at the same time, they're like coming close, but not too close, so.
I think having had an opportunity to do some producing and really not liking a lot of how it's done, I think the editor's perspective could be extremely beneficial before we shoot, right? Like, understand if you're going to do this and you're going to want this, you're going to want to make sure, XYZ and PQR, right? It just makes sense.
Absolutely.
And, most directors don't know it all. My God, they can't even speak to an actor. So, that's one of my pet peeves, of course, but it just, it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're right. Because we have the benefit of being the Monday night quarterback or Monday morning quarterback, right?
Absolutely.
We've seen all the stuff. We just know what things do and don't work, and so we can kind of we can look backwards to the beginning and spot things in the script. Like, for example, so I mentioned, my business partner and I, we've been optioning scripts, and one of them was it's based off of autobiography of a woman in the 80s who became one of the first naval combat approved naval aviators. And it was kind of her story of what it was like to be a woman at that point, and and it wasn't easy. And we flip-flop between her story in the 80s and a modern day female fight probably who wants to join the Blue Angels, which is like the last bastion of pilots where it's only just men. But the script, the version that we had read was really, really great. It was a solid story, but because we're going between the 80s and modern day, you want to be able to do that in a way where it's visually interesting or seamless, right? Because as it was written, it just kind of felt like you're in the 80s and now so they're modern day. And if you were to watch it, I think it'd be jarring. And so when we had optioned the script, we asked them if they could do a rewrite. And my specific ask was, write those when you're transitioning from 80s to modern day, do something with that scene where one goes into the other. So, like, for example, I can't think of an exact example out of the script, but like, let's just say you're, say at the end of a scene and you're in the 80s and you're like panning along this jet aircraft, right? Then as you can be in the modern day panning along the same kind of aircraft, and now you're in the modern day. It's kind of like going into a room, you go into that darkened hallway and you come out the other side. It's so you sort of on the editing side what visual transitions are interesting or work. Or like, I think we have a scene where in the 80s they're at some bar and she puts her beer bottle down. And then we cut to modern day, and it's a beer bottle being picked up by our modern day character who's in a bar. So interconnecting things like that. And they were totally like, oh my God, I never thought of that. That's such a great idea. Or they had done it a little bit, but not to the extent. And the one writer, she does a lot of work. She directs a lot for Lifetime and Hallmark. So she knows how to make those types of films. But so definitely knowledge of post is huge to be able to kind of work backwards to the start of a film. And there's some directors that really love post and they really get it and they try to learn. There's some that want no part of it at all, which is unfortunate because the movie suffers for it. Editors, most of the movies we've worked on, at some point the director kind of checked out. So it was pretty common that we would just be in there approving the sound mix and approving the color timing because the director didn't want to do it. But the director, it's sort of like having a kid. You don't get to pick and choose when you want to hang out with them. You're you really need to be stuck with them the whole time. And it's your vision, and you're getting all those kudos for how great or bad that film is. And so it's your responsibility to kind of see it through the whole way. Just because you're bored by post doesn't mean that you're excused from it, you know. But so just my point being, directors that understand VFX tend to make some pretty good films. There's a lot of editors have turned into directors as well, which has been helpful. And then the other important thing, it's kind of going away from acting now, but the knowledge of film distribution is really important if you're thinking about making a film, not just acting in one. Until a studio is buying your script for $500,000 or $5 million or something, you're going to be making your own films, and you know the chances of them being picked up by an indie distribution company are really slim. But even if you can make a decent film, they pay as little money as humanly possible, and by little I'm meaning from $0 to $5,000 to $30,000 tops, and especially if you don't have any recognizable cast. If you have a recognizable cast, like Bruce Willis, they might give you a guarantee of $3 million, but your movie cost 20. Or if it's like a Danny Trejo, maybe they'll give you $300,000. I don't know, but like it's all tied to casting. So if you ever want to make your own film, spend as little money as possible on it, because you will probably never get any of that money back. And if you can get really great cast, that's the key. That's the key to whether your movie is $10,000 or $100 million or 10 or 5. It's all based upon the bankability of the cast. But on the distribution side of it, yeah, trust me, we know so many people that they spent $150,000 on the equivalent of a mumblecore movie, you know, just a bunch of people talking the whole film, and you know he got paid $7,500 for it on distribution. I think he's probably made, he might have made 50 to 75K, you know, with you know rentals and purchases over time. But you know, I don't think it's going to take him a long time to be whole. We had a meeting with somebody else who has a pretty good drama. It was a $2 million film though, which is a lot for a drama. And he had Paradigm, the agency, was going to be his sales agent. And then when COVID hit, I guess Paradigm fired that whole department. So now he had nothing. So he went from having a sales agent that could have gotten this film sold for a okay amount of money. Now it was sitting on a $2 million film that nobody wanted because it was a drama. There was some decent actors in it, but not so big that they were willing to write him a check for what he wanted. And you'd be surprised too. There's some companies, they just don't want movies. Like there was one film that we repped. I mean, we eventually got it sold, but it was like kind of a cool little like found footage horror film shot up in Canada. Kind of a cool story. And you know, we couldn't even get the company just didn't want it. They're like, so even they didn't even want to give them $0 and revenue share. They're like, nah, we'll pass. So and this by the way was also happening during COVID. So any stories you read about, you know, indie filmmakers, they finally have their day, and the studios need content. They want content. They don't want it from us. They want it from Tom Cruise and John Krasinski, and you know, they want it from all the same people they've always gotten it from. So my point just being, you really need to understand the business side of it as much as possible, because that's where all these decisions are being made. So whether you're making your own film, being cast in one, trying to cast one, so on and so forth. You got to really get a sense for that side of it, and just don't go into it with your head in the sand. You know, like it's okay to be disappointed with the reality of it, but just as long as you accept the reality of it, you know. But if you can make it, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's a lottery ticket, right? It's a lottery winner. What I love about editing is that you are kind of bridging the gap between business and art in this realm, right? I mean, it's really something else of what you guys do. I've been lucky enough to know Eric before he decided to become an editor. I was with him on day one when he started that journey, and look at what he's done in 10 years. I mean, it's really something else. So, brother, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, really. This was awesome. And I'm sure people will go back to listen and make sure they heard correctly. Really appreciate it. And who knows, maybe we'll be seeing you again down the line.
Yeah, happy to come back. There's lots of stuff I can talk about. So
awesome.
All good.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. We'll talk to you on Friday.
Okay, cool. All right, guys.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I love the bar background too.
Yeah.
So, was that helpful?
It's awesome.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Thank you.
Also, yes, thank you. It's also very humbling because I didn't want to say it while he was here. I know this is being recorded, but I pretty much made every mistake that he listed.
absolutely. I mean,
Oh, done that. Did that. Like, these people, editors hate me.
Jesse posted my first professional gig, that New York Undercover. It's not as bad as I remember, but I got some facial gymnastics going on, and you know, I mean, we have no way of knowing until we do it. That's the unfortunate part of how this industry has been set up, and the weird hierarchy that exists, you know, which is why directors won't talk to, you know, actors, or they won't talk to editors, and they don't want to hear it because they know, right? No, it's my vision. Fuck your vision if it doesn't fucking work in the cutting room, right? I mean, yes, it is many different groups or people of different expertises coming together, but we need the collaboration, right? We need the communication. And for me, that's more of the world that I'm interested in building, is remove the fucking ego, and how are we going to get the best possible product for the greater good of all? And that's where we're headed. So, yeah, good stuff. I think I'm going to have a sound guy on next. He did sound for Z Nation. He also taught me the ukulele. He plays several instruments. He's a singer and a performer himself. And that will be good to know. I'm sure he's come up in the ranks so he can speak to the different levels of filmmaking. Because when you're on a professional set, you don't have to be concerned. I checked in with him season 5 because I had a lot of shouting. I'm always telling you guys, not too loud, not too loud, not too loud. And I am literally, some of you have heard my voice. I mean, full volume. And I checked in and I'm like, hey, and he's like, you don't worry about a thing. You do your thing. I got you. That is such a huge relief. But that's budget, that's booms and labs, and a man who knows how to put a lav mic on you. In a controlled environment, like when I worked on General Hospital, we were in the cafe, sat at a little table. 40 feet above us was a boom mic. This is probably a $5,000 to $10,000 mic. They did not mic us. I was whispering, that thing picked up everything, but it's a sound stage. It's a controlled environment. Nothing's going to interrupt it. I know early on, Dave used to shoot a lot, but boy, when it's windy, even with the what is it, the dead cat, right? You know, you put that muffle and then you put the hairy thing on, even with that sometimes. So I hope that's not sad Matador you're concerned about. But okay, good.
Oh, no. Because I was recently on set a few weekends ago, as you guys know, and it occurred to me that like I love this guy. He does, what is his name? Oh my god, I feel so bad. I'm spacing his name. Caleb. Oh my God. Anyway, I love Caleb, but it occurred to me that like I've never really asked him why he would need both to lav me and to do a boom if he's only going to take the lav mic, you know, if he's only going to take sound from here. But I understand now that a big part of what the editor wants is backups. So I know as actors, we like to do the one take, like we get it one take, that's all I need. But for safety, one for safety, that's what our motto is, right? One more for safety.
He almost said
I'm
it.
starting to
He didn't say it like that, but he
Yeah.
almost did. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm starting to understand that from an editor's perspective, having the actors be consistent is incredibly helpful, but also having insurance policies, if you will, backups,
Absolutely.
such as so that even though maybe he got a great lav mic, the scene calls for we're in a parking lot, so maybe the boom is picking up ambient sound. So now they're going to like layer that in a way. Yeah, so I wanted to hear his perspective as an editor, and I think I got confirmation that that's what he does in post is you can layer, you can pick different ones. But yeah, the other thing I was going to ask him, but I know we were kind of running out of time, was like, what personality is ideally suited to being an editor? Because I feel like I'm kind of an introvert and I like being left alone to just like hyper focus on something. So I feel like I would be good at it, but at the same time, like you have to collaborate with people. You have to be a good communicator. And so I kind of wanted to ask him like what personality would be ideally suited to this profession. I don't know.
Well, I think I mean, yeah, sure. Being able to sit in front of a computer for 12 to 15 hours a day is part of it. But I think it's going to vary from project to project. And he basically got there with, depending on the directors, right? Some directors want a part of it, some don't, some, will leave the process. And it's like, wow, how can you leave your baby in the hands of
that was surprising to
an
hear.
editor, right? But
that
that's
was really
just
surprising to hear. Yeah.
Which is why, I have my ideas about what's missing. There's a lot missing. You can't take this process for granted, which I think it's done. And I think that's the problem with, money being the focus and it just being business. If everyone took it as their art form, I know Eric gives a shit, right? He cares about what he's doing. And like I said, I was with this guy on day one. He's like, I'm going to be an editor. And I was like, really? You're an adult man married with children, and you want to switch careers from successful IT dude in HR-ish, and stuff like that. Really? I'm thinking you're freaking nuts. I'm going to support you, of course, but really?
Attacked.
And
I feel attacked.
and what do you mean? I'm saying he had a good thing, man, and he was walking away from it. But what a beautiful story. I mean, look at the people he's got to cut. Look at the films he's got to be a part of. I mean, Sessions, guys, that was a big deal at Sundance with Helen Hunt, and I forget the other actor's name. You probably recognize him when you see him. If you haven't seen it, it's something else. It's obviously an indie, not huge, but I mean, the work that Helen Hunt, it's hard not to love her work. I mean, go watch her films. You should. Big or small. There's an actor that gives a shit. Any other big things that stood out for anybody? Yeah,
just how complicated it is.
Well, yeah.
The more I know, the less I know. It's just
it's so much bigger than that. Yeah, absolutely.
Just incredible.
Flink?
I thought it was interesting that he said, sometimes the tone of the scene can even change in post. So it's important that if you're doing the scene 7 or 8 times, you do have that little slight variation just in case they want to cut the scene totally different than the way they thought.
And this is connected to your question, and it's important, guys, and so let's revisit a little. we've said it often, but now we really need to clarify. The words don't matter when you're auditioning. Don't let that fuck you up. And even if you choose to change it on your own, fucking go for it. You got a better idea, you're going to make it sound better? Awesome. Now, you might be blessed to work with someone like Tony Hines, who's like, hey, if anything, feels a little better, feel free, right? There are directors that are not attached to their scripts. They're not going to make you sign a contract vowing not to change a word in their script. I say that with a lot of sarcasm, and it's not a hug. But you have to do your work, and on the day, you know your line. Go ahead and change it. Go ahead and say it your way, but then keep saying it that way. You can't just, oh, I'm going to wing it each time and let it come out however it comes each time. You see, like he said, I got 8 different, I can't do that. It's making their job so much harder. So if you get the gig, now you do the work. Now you know your lines, and you should know. And I have a director in mind already who we were chatting about this. He's like, monologues are great, and we're going to start doing this, playing those monologues entirely different. Do it drunk, do it happy, do it angry, start applying different, right? You should be able to play that same piece 10, 20 different ways. It won't necessarily be as drastic. You know what the story is. You know the story that we're telling. But you do have a lot of room to play inside of that. Make sure you lay some down where you really are going. But even when you're trying to do the same thing, there's going to be differences. It's just natural. If you're in the moment, you're going to raise an eyebrow, perhaps. That's okay. It's not about locking yourself into a robot, Yeah, look, I'm raising my hand at this point. Be as consistent as you can with that, right? But that emotion, that delivery, that intensity, all of those things are factors that can fluctuate and vary inside of that. But the lines, keep the lines the same. Know your lines, which was the biggest note I got from the costumer going in, when I went in for my fitting for General Hospital. He's like, did you ever work on a soap? I said, no. He said, know your lines. And he repeated that like 3 or 4 times. No, this is what's going to happen. You're going to come in, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, makeup, blah, blah, blah. They're going to call you up. You're going to do a run-through rehearsal, and then they're going to shoot it. And then they're going to move on to the next scene. You get 1 take, 1 rehearsal, 1 take. Now that's soap operas, obviously, that's not film. But if you came up in soap operas, man, you are in better shape than most. That's the waiting tables of acting, right? It is so hardcore and so badass. Sure, you might be able to learn some bad habits too, but if you're doing the work, know your lines, know your lines, know your lines, know your lines.
So we know the rules before we break them. Know your lines before you change them.
Absolutely. And you don't change them unless you have had gotten permission.
Right.
You have to talk and also know your place and know when you get to actually ask that.
Yeah.
If you're a day player with under 5, you don't get to ask that. If you're a guest star, then, but even then you better, feel it out. I saved a couple of lines that they cut and I brought them back to another scene. I brought it to the AD first. I brought it to Esther, and then she says, I love it. Let's ask the director. Then we brought it to director. He's like, great, do it. So they were going to cut a couple of my lines in a scene, and then I brought it back in a different one. I said, what if we did this? He's like, I love it. Let's do it. But Z Nation was that kind of moving on the fly. Everything's on location, right? When you're in a set, in a sound studio, even on a soap, there's no room for creativity. You're there, you do your job and get the frick out, right?
What's the day player exactly? Just you're in and that's it?
Yeah, you come in, you got a few lines.
And that's, you're
Yeah,
there for a day?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's a day's wage.
okay.
You're gonna probably have, 5 to 10 lines max. And sometimes it's a co-star, sometimes it's not. Any other big insights on that? All right, good. We'll
Oh, Flink has one.
yes.
Real quick,
That's all right.
I want to get started. I'm just going to talk about this, how this class is again, or dojo, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I need my glasses, sorry. Well, that's one of the things. I mean, sometimes technical issues aren't caught until post. You've talked about that in class. I mean, not so much hit your marks and hit your eye lines, but we do a lot of training on, and you help us adjust our eye lines and the performances in the eyes. Don't be overly expressive in your feelings and your facials. I mean, it's just stuff that we hear here every week. It's just amazing, and I just want to say thank you. Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks. I heard that. I was hoping you guys would too.
But one last thing, don't, if you flub a line, just keep going. Don't say you're sorry. Be a professional. I mean, it's just.
You've heard that. I know you've heard that. I've definitely said that a few times. Guys, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face. And there's some stuff coming down the pike. You'll hear about it. I promise you what you got here is special. I promise you what you have here is not just quality, it's high-end, top-level quality. I can tell you, according to one of the agents, because I said I would be willing to put money down that my students book more than any other teachers or coaches out there. And the response was, your students book more than my Seattle roster for Seattle jobs. So the lie that's perpetuated that Spokane doesn't have talent is bullshit, because people from this class book, and they're booking in Seattle, and they're booking nationwide now, depending on which agency they're with. So you won't know it unless you do it. And what I also always say is the most important thing is that you do the work. You just gotta keep going to the gym. You gotta keep going, and that's what this is, and that's what no one else does. You can study with them for 6 weeks, for 10 weeks, I don't care. But if you're not consistent, it doesn't matter. You want to be an actor, you got to act, and that means acting all the time. An actor needs to be acting.
I want to hear more about, not tonight, maybe another night, about the Spollywood and the new stage production thing that they're planning. So that'll be fascinating. You posted it on someone posted it.
Oh, Terry shared that.
Farley's great adventure forward. So
I hold on, I'm confused. What are you saying?
The total stages that they're going to build out by the airport, film and studio stages. I can't remember.
Is that the article that Terry Fossum shared?
Yeah,
I didn't even read it. But are they bring Studio City? Are they bringing? Are they? So yeah.
And the airport's on board.
I've been talking about sound stages for years, guys.
Oh my God! I mean, that's a big deal, and
it's beyond big.
They're looking for angel investors.
Well, of course they are.
Their money.
So put it this way: if you have a soundstage is a very large building, kind of like a hangar, where you can write really high ceilings, typically thick walls. And what does that mean? It means you can run 4 shows at least a year, because you're not dealing with the environment. You're not dealing with the weather. which means you build the sets. Now you can do real episodic, real procedural. You can have the precinct for the cops. You can have the
Very-
hospital. You can have the judge's courtroom and law offices, right? These are all sets that are built when you have a sound stage. And oh my God, so much easier because you're not looking for a new location every single week for each episode, and you're not needing to bug in and bug out. My God, the poor crew for Z Nation, what they deserve not just 3 times the pay, but fucking gold medals, solid gold. Yeah, soundstage is huge, and what that means, think about it. And if they build 2, well, that's 8 shows a year you could be running.
That's right.
Do
That's
you want all those jobs going to LA actors?
Mhm.
That's why you need to be doing your shit now, because 3 years when that's up and running,
Yeah.
you're gonna be fucking ready.
Well, see, that's why I thought you knew about it. I said, oh, well, this makes total sense. Rick's
I've been screaming about it for years.
Well, it's
You know, yeah, well, that a lot of things are happening. I've also said Hollywood's gonna burn. I
I
still
was
believe that's
excited
gonna
to see
happen
that
too.
article.
And when that happens, you know, it's no longer going to be about needing to get certain names, because a lot of those names are going to be gone. There's going to be a void to be filled. And the beautiful thing about it, it's going to be filmed with heart, with love, and with art, not with personality, ego, and sellability. Mark my words. Go ahead, call me crazy. Let's get to work.
Oh,
What do we got?
Tabitha, did you have a question or a comment? I saw you put your hand up.
Oh, I was just saying that I was really excited when I read that article because he was saying the guy who directed Boone was talking about how much fun he had filming out here. And he was saying,
Oh,
you know, you have a moment where you're filming in the city, you drive 20 minutes, you're filming in an area that looks super rural, mountainous. You drive another 20 minutes, you're in the desert. He's like, I want to make this the Hollywood of the Pacific Northwest. He's like, this is where it needs to be. Everything that's being filmed in Canada to describe the Pacific Northwest needs to be filmed in Spokane.
Yep.
So it's a huge long article about how great it is to film in Spokane. So it was pretty good read.
Well, and again, having a conversation with someone, my commitment, go back to the intro video, is to raise Spokane to the same level as, or better than, Portland and Seattle. And she was saying that we could be better than Portland. We have better locations to film here. We have so much more variety. They're stuck to their stages. They don't have as much variety. And fucking permits,
Oh, yeah.
they give them away for free. It's so easy to film. This is such a film-friendly environment right now.
So far.
Portland is way more difficult. Seattle, even more difficult than that.
Well, and for that reason, it's really important to have friends on the city council and such, because once they figure out that means money, they're going to want a part of it and more permits. So this is something to keep in mind too.
Well, yeah, the city's
where they
gonna grow, the traffic's gonna grow, but we got Idaho 30 minutes away. We got Montana with a $10 million incentive package. You know, we have 2 in Washington State. So we're also the gateway.
Yeah.
We are, you know, we complete the triangle with Seattle and Portland. We got, you know, Spokane, but on the other side of Spokane, we have Idaho and Montana.
Right.
We can be the center of all of that. So it would make sense to make us the Hollywood.
One of
Because you
the things
fly
they
in
did
here.
say in that article, one drawback is that the state of Washington's incentives are much lower than several of the other states, and that's got to improve to really open these floodgates, is the
Right.
incentive levels.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
They will. They are working on it, and they're lobbying it. Unfortunately, anything in the politics takes time. But again, I think we got some pretty awesome miracles on the way. You want to be an actor, which you just heard from Eric saying it's probably the most difficult. You're not going to be it just because you say. That's the first part, and that's the most important part. But now that you've said, you got to prove it, and you have to continue to prove it over and over every day. And you're not proving it to anybody but yourself. That's the trick. Doesn't matter what anybody thinks. Can you feel it in your heart? Do you know? Do you know that you showed up? Do you know that you were present? You'll know because it feels so damn good. What do we got?
So Sean and Karen are first. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, could I do my auditions?
Is that Jesse?
That is
Yeah.
Oh, that's Jesse.
There he is.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, Jesse.
Auditions.
Yep.
Jesse, hit the audition circuit here.
Yeah, sorry I'm late, guys. This is the first chance I had to set up and everything. Rick, just so you know, I sent both of my scripts to you just in case you wanted to visually see them, because I know sometimes, you know, visual learning is much easier to dissect and everything. So I'm going to do the monologue one first because that's obviously harder for me. And then depending on my mom's back or not, she needs help setting up her bike really quick. If she's not back, Tabitha and I hopefully can roll this out. And if not, we'll go from there.
All right.
Okay, so
You guys don't have to shut off for the monologue when we do the scene. Maybe we will. I'll just pin him so you guys are good.
and I'm gonna. Like,
But
it's
please
probably
make
obvious-
sure you're muted, everybody.
Obviously, I'll probably be practicing this a couple times. Okay. Okay, so that's set up. I don't think there was a name with this specifically. I don't think so. So I think this is just for some industrial. So I don't think I'll say a reading for. I think I'll just put Jesse Johnson, Big Fish.
Yep.
Okay.
So now let me tell you this. I know that you're recording with another device, but what I'm looking at is looking up at you. And so what's difficult about that for me is to give you proper sight line,
Mm-hmm.
right? You want, for this, your camera should be eye level, slightly higher. Looking down.
The camera I'm recording.
The camera you're recording on. But
Yes.
if you want me to truly be able to help you, then whatever I'm looking at should be as well. Because right now, I'm basically looking up your nose.
Okay.
And so it's going to be harder for me to know what your sight line is what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Well, I'm probably gonna have to go through this 1,000 times before I can even think about recording with the right one. So we'll practice, and then when we're ready to give the actual recording a try, then I'll make
All
the
right. Well,
other report.
we're not going to do 1,000 times because you're ready to rock and roll. We'll do a few times and move on. Let's go.
I hope so. Okay. Okay. Hi, Jesse Johnson, Big Fish. You're here because you want to make better videos, right? Whether you're a blogger, online teacher, YouTuber, or filmmaker, this is the perfect course to learn the basics. Hi, I'm Jesse with Create Studio, and I want to share everything I know about creating high-quality video with you. In this course, you'll learn the entire production process, from coming up with a great idea to putting it together and sharing it with the world. This course includes video lessons, downloadable resources, and exercise assignments that will get you off your computer and out creating content. If you're a beginner and want to take your skills to the next level, this is for you. So what are you waiting for? Let's begin.
Good. Great. Speed it up.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, look, I think it's got to have energy, but it has to be genuine. But
Okay.
we need energy. We need excitement. you gotta, you know, you need to drive this with just the insane amount. It's just a little too even keel.
Yeah.
Not that we want massive spikes or anything like that, but absolutely, you want to drive this. And hi, how you doing? If you want this, that not
Okay.
cheesy salesman either, but it needs to move to keep them engaged.
Okay. All right, one more time.
Can I add something?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Can you relax your shoulders for me? Just relax.
Okay. Are you good?
I just felt them slowly. I felt them slowly creeping up. And it was amazing that by the end of this whole thing, you exhaled this breath. And I had confirmation that you've been holding your breath the entire time. You're very tense. You're
Oh yeah,
very tense.
I hate these kind of ones. I do terrible at them. It's a struggle for me.
Don't.
Well, but that's
say
the
that.
problem. That's the problem. You're not doing terrible.
Yeah.
Like you're self-sabotaging
Don't
right
tell
now
that
in
to my
front of our
shoulders.
very eyes. No. Just this is not this is, let's just take the pressure down. Like you are building this up so much in your head. Like we need to get you depressurized. Let's pop that balloon. Let's get you to relax. You're having a conversation. You're just telling me about like you're offering me your services to help me make better videos. That's going to help my life. You're going to do me a favor. Like I want you to be able to sell this to me.
And
you know what I mean?
You know that you have the right formula. You have the right product. You are here to save people. That's a great point. But again, that knowledge and that confidence, right? And Jesse kind of touched on this Thursday. You know, you're going on 5 years here, almost. You're doing great work. You've come a long way. Absolutely eliminate. I am horrible, terrible. Buddy, that language is shooting yourself in the foot, okay? Even when we say it in jest, and this is for everybody, as is every note that I give anybody. Every note, if you're smart, you know is for you. Your subconscious does not distinguish in the language that you use. It will believe whatever you're saying. So you get to create your world. You get to create you. You get to say who you are. That was a great first read. Hang it out, brother.
Thank you. Okay. All right, one more. Hi, man. Hi, Jesse Johnson, Big Fish. You're here because you want to make better videos, right? Whether you're a blogger, online teacher, YouTuber, or filmmaker, this is the perfect course to learn the basics. Hi, I'm Jesse with Create Studio, and I want to share everything I know about creating high-quality video with you. In this course, you'll learn the entire production process, from coming up with a great idea to putting it together and sharing it with the world. This course includes video lessons, downloadable resources, and exercise assignments that get you off your computer and out creating content. If you're a beginner and want to take your skills to the next level, this is for you. So what are you waiting for? Let's begin.
I like that. I like it a lot. One little thing, we're going to try it again. You are leaning to a side.
To the side? Okay.
You're just slightly getting excited and kind of leaning into, I don't know if there's a script there. Center yourself, plant yourself, because this is straight to the camera. Maybe you're looking at a different camera lens, and that's okay. Okay.
Okay, what about now? Am I good?
yeah, you're not really looking straight into my camera. But I don't know if you were, again, that's the difficult thing with working with multiple cameras.
Yeah,
and
I don't have
I
my
understand that. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't have my other camera right now, so we'll see if it happens again.
So, it's okay if you're not totally centered, but you have to remain
aligned.
even, right? You don't want to, and you were just slightly leaning into, and always be careful with the plane of leaning forward also. You were coming slightly to one side and a little forward. It wasn't horrible, but boy, a couple of inches makes a big deal when we lean in, right? So keep your plane here, and this is why, again, relax, solid. This is the only thing that moves. Everything else is, so when you plant your feet, you can picture them being rooted and everything is connected. You got, the roots of a tree going down, and you don't need to talk with your hands or your arms. You can lace them, keep them here, center, right? Or if you're more comfortable, grab them behind your back together. Either way, this will help keep you centered, and the whole talk comes from here. I mean, you can do one of these, but you're going to balance it right. Those pretty big moves. It's a lovely delivery. I like the speed, love the smile. Maybe a touch, a little more warmth. So what are you waiting for? Let's get started, right? Give them a little, come on. Let's get started.
Arm around the shoulders. I also noticed, get over here, you.
Come on.
But what if we you're projecting like very loudly. You have your microphone right here. I kind of want this to be not as
softer,
presentational.
Okay. Yeah, softer,
like
more intimate.
You're talking to millions, yes, but it's one person at a time. This is just one person.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Awesome.
Okay, we'll do one more practice and then I'll see if I can record with the other phone. Yeah, normally it would work with just on with your class, but I guess this one's due at midnight, so it's like, okay, gotta speed it up a little, but oh well. Hi, Jesse Johnson, Big Fish. You're here because you want to make better videos, right? Whether you're a blogger, online teacher, YouTuber, or filmmaker, this is the perfect course to learn the basics. Hi, I'm Jesse with Create Studio, and I want to share everything I know about creating high-quality video with you. In this course, you'll learn the entire production process, from coming up with a great idea, to putting it together and sharing it with the world. This course includes video lessons, downloadable resources, and exercise assignments that forgot the
damn
line.
Dude. That's all right. You're doing great. I mean, that's it. And it was a nice delineation between the different things you're mentioning that you're highlighting. Nothing's pushed. It's going to happen. Yeah. And lose the chaos of going up on your lines. You went up on your lines. So what? No big deal.
Oh, I didn't think about this. Yeah, for the audition, is it okay to have your headphones in your ears?
If you don't have a lav mic, I
usually just put them in my pocket.
That would be better.
Yeah.
I recently saw a discussion. There's no definitive. A couple of casting directors chimed in. I prefer not, but there's always one that's like, I don't care. You don't know what their preference is. A lav mic is always going to look. If you don't have one, yeah, absolutely. Tuck it in your pocket. It's still close by. And the mic on your headphones is going to be better than your computer
speaker,
or your phone, even if it's just a little bit.
Okay. All right. I want to see, what can we do? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna see if so I think we got the right idea. I'm gonna try and just record it with the other phone and just see how things work out, okay? Is that all right? Set that up really quick. Oh, hang on, pause. I just realized I should probably put my headphones in the other phone. Okay. You little bugger, come on. Hi, Jesse Johnson, Big Fish. Hi, Jesse Johnson, Big Fish. You're here because you want to make better videos, right? Whether you're a blogger, online teacher, YouTuber, or filmmaker, this is the perfect course to learn the basics. Hi, I'm Jesse with Create Studio, and I want to share everything I know about creating high-quality video with you. In this course, you'll learn the entire production process, from coming up with a great idea to putting it together and sharing it with the world. This course includes video lessons, downloadable resources, and exercise assignments that get you off the computer and out creating content. If you're a beginner and want to take your skills to the next level, this is for you. What are you waiting for? Let's begin.
Good. It might have been a little too warm at the end there. I don't know, Aubrey. What do you think about that?
Send it in. Take a risk. Send it in. I don't think it's too warm. I think that
Okay, good.
it could be taken as very, I think it could be taken as very like, oh, he's going to take me under his wing. He's
Yeah.
going to help me
Yeah.
because I'm having trouble making my website look good enough. Like, so.
Well, what's interesting about this one is, I guess there are callbacks on the 18th and the 19th.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Look, man, a big enough gig, yeah, they're gonna want, which is great because then you'll get some notes. They'll tell you, what they want to see. You can re-record this on your own. You're fine. You know this. You got this. I mean, the delivery was great. But I am going to use you as an example. The point of putting auditions first is that yes, they are important, but having your set up, so we're not sitting here waiting for you to readjust your camera and do all that stuff. So investing in the tripod, investing in, and I'll admit, I recently got my little clip to hold my phone because I would jimmy it and whatever, but it's fine if I'm on my own. But if you're going to come in class and you want the priority, you come ready to rock and roll and you come prepared. You're not rehearsing so much as polishing and nailing, right? That's the purpose of this, because you have to honor and respect everybody else's time. If you come in here and you haven't done the work, I'm not saying you didn't do the work, you obviously have, but that setup is part of your work also, right? You got to have that ready to rock and roll. And sorry guys, you got to invest. You got to invest in the lav mic. You got to invest in the tripod. You got to invest in this, in the thing, whatever the clip to hold the stupid phone. I don't know what it's called. It's not that much, but it makes a huge difference because it's peace of mind for you. You're going to have it set. You're going to know You're not going to have to close it up, and you could just leave it at home and you know the exact height. It's already there. You just got to snap your phone in and I'm ready to rock and roll. That's part of your whole deal, your setup. I really like that, man. I think you got it. You want to re-record it on your own, go ahead, but you got that. And I do. I mean, I really did like the warmth at the end, because it's a gear shift as well. It's not too fast. It wasn't cheesy salesman, which I like a lot also. And I think a lot of people are going to fabricate, which is probably what they don't want. Right?
Right.
I think being real is going to be important. So what's next?
Sean and Karen. Sean, that's Sean Brow and Karen. And then on deck is Jennifer Simmons and Sharon doing a scene. And for people, because we have a lot of people here tonight, this is really nice. We've been putting our names in the chat, and that's kind of how I put together the list of people who are going to go in order. So if you want to go, I thought Tabitha, I was kind of directing this towards Tabitha, wink, wink, Tabitha. Okay. Cool.
Can I ask one question before we move on?
Yep.
Rick, the mystery movie ranch, like kind of where we do it, would that be an okay place to do an audition?
Yes, you just have to make it known before. Jerry will set up lights for us in the other room. We got a nice blank wall. We've done it before. It's a really nice setup, you know. And if you don't have a tripod, you need you need to handle it ahead of time to make sure that, like, I'll bring my tripod, he'll set up some lights for us, and yeah, we can absolutely do that on Thursday.
Because I do have another audition, but you know what? I think I will just bring it Thursday. I'll just make my way over there. That way, you know, that one new girl can also do the thing I brought her one more time. It's just, I think it'll be easier than doing this, especially since Tabitha has to speak and the weird audio might kick in. So I think I'll just do it Thursday.
If you have time, and Tabitha's going to be there on Thursday anyway. Yes, guys, when we were in person, we did video submits all the time in class, and we've always had great success with that. So video submits in class is just like this. Auditions get put up first. We do it. It's always worked. It's always been beneficial. It's not about having a professional studio. It's just about having your phone, and, you know, again, if you got the lav mic, absolutely. But what's nice is that, yeah, Jerry will light us up if we ask. So
okay, I will.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll just do it, and I'll send those informations right now.
Very good.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, nice work.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I had trouble last night on that table read and gremlins. Okay. Karen, are you ready?
Yeah, am I on? Can you hear me?
I can hear you too.
Yes, we can.
Excellent.
All right, so we got a scene with the two of you. Go ahead and shut those
Yeah.
cameras down, folks. Thank you very much. Let me hide non-video participants. Shut mine down. Please make sure you're muted. Thank you very much. Ladies, whenever you're ready.
So have you decided to go to the trial?
I'm not going to your fucking trial.
Why not, honey? She needs to pay for her incompetence.
Is this about money?
No,
Is it about what people think?
it's about you. It's about you having to face this thing.
I'm facing this. I'm facing this. I'm facing this.
Well, I don't think you are. We need some justice here.
No, you need. That's what you want. This is what you need, and it's your way. It's not my way. It's what you need.
Martha, if we had done it my way, you'd be holding your baby in your arms right now.
You know what? You're ashamed. You're so ashamed of me. You're ashamed because I failed. Oh, what a disgrace. What a disgrace. I failed.
Yes.
You're fucking ashamed.
And I'm ashamed of me. That I wasn't a good enough mother to teach you how to stand up and speak for yourself, for God's sakes, and to deal with this like my mother taught me. After my father went into the ghetto, my mother found a shack, an empty shack, to deliver me in without any help. She stashed me under the floorboards so that when she had to go out and steal food, she could make enough milk to keep me alive, but just enough, not strong enough to cry, so we wouldn't be found. When she finally got me to a doctor, he said just to let me go, that I wasn't strong enough to survive. But when she absolutely insisted, he picked me up by my feet and held me up like a chicken and said, if she tries to lift her head, then there's hope. And you know what I did? I lifted my head. And that's what I'm trying to ask you to do now. Speak up for yourself, speak your truth. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to deal with this. You're never going to be able to move on. You've got to move on past this, Martha.
Stop it. Stop it.
All right, nice work. What's this from?
Pieces of a Woman. It's a Netflix with Ellen Bernstein and what's her name? Cassie Colby? Can't think of the Martha part.
That's okay. I don't. That's fine.
This is Ellen Bernstein's part.
Karen, I'd love for you to get off book on this because your sight line is acceptable where it's at right now. But if we can just get you to split the difference, it'll be so much more powerful. What I want you to also think about is the volume. It just got a little big. I want all that intensity just without the volume. Okay. I know you're not off book and you're feeling it out. That's all right. Sean, it's the same note, but it's not the same performance or actor or actions that I'm giving the note on. But there's a little animation, there's a little head movement, there's a little, it's so slight, but we have to. We're just going to keep tightening and polishing and honing. It's not an eyebrow thing. It's not an eye thing. It's just the ever so subtle. And we're just going to, I want you to keep practicing the stillness. I want you to just let the words do the work. And any time that you're punctuating with the movement, right? If it's going to move, you want almost like the movement is slow motion, but it's not in sync and doesn't have the same cadence as the words. Does that make sense?
What I'm doing now or what you want?
No, that's what I want. Because what you're doing now is a punctuating and with the words, right? So you're in cadence with you're going to be talking and this is going to be moving and not even if there has to be movement, which
Okay.
usually there doesn't, especially in this framing here, right? This is a close-up still. The closer we are, the less movement there is. And you absolutely understand, have a feel for what you're saying. So the movement will take away from that.
This was it. Yeah. Just
Right. And again, like Eric was saying, when you see it on a larger screen, there's the
Yeah.
microscope, guys. Imagine that. He's like, wow, I didn't notice that tear.
Yeah.
I wanted to chime in and say, yeah, but now you get to say I did that on purpose. You see that shot? Look at that tear. Look at that tear. You see that? Yeah, that was me. Right. So we will see more on a larger screen, which means we have to do less. Our job is to truly do less. Trust the words. Aubrey.
Yeah. Karen, I feel like I have seen this scene before, but Karen did not do it.
Ashley
Oh, okay.
was going to be here, so I asked Karen to step up and do it with me this evening.
Okay. Because I saw a different daughter this time. It's a mother-daughter, yes. Yeah.
Well, the same scene, but yeah, we have new Karen daughter instead of Ashley.
Yeah.
That'll happen too, for sure.
Yeah. So I echo what Rick was saying about Karen, your intensity. It's beautiful intensity, but I think that we want to see it. We want to see it's like get compress like a lump of coal, and then we can burst it. You know what I mean? And then I noticed I actually had to kind of lean in and watch you, Karen, while Sean was speaking, to see it, how the words were landing and how they were affecting you. And you did some lovely listening. I want to see more of it. I think I need to see. I wonder if there are certain things that she's saying that hit you the most, but then you have to really put that wall back up quick.
Okay.
I think I want you to pick moments where something she says kind of penetrates that thick skin, but then you got to cover back up. You got to protect yourself, because it seems like with your character, you want to protect yourself a lot from her, because she's saying a lot of things that you don't want to hear right now. Yeah. And then I also noticed, Karen, at the very, very end, you had a lovely, quiet intensity to it, and then you broke it so quickly.
Oh, I do that.
I wanted you to just hang on. I want you to hang on to that moment until Coach stops you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Sit in it. It's uncomfortable, but it's beautiful.
Remember your editor. Those are the
Yeah.
moments, and directors will hang on, and even our young filmmaker Ramsey will tell you he's one of them. He'll hang on an extra 5 seconds. Just let the camera roll at the end of the scene, because the magic that happens in that final moment after all words are gone. Go ahead and hold it. Go ahead and hold it. Do not break. You also rob us. We're your audience right now. You're performing. You get to do what you love. Never rob your audience of, unless it's absolutely necessary and on purpose, and then it's a directorial call. But you as an actor, your gift, give them the gift and let them enjoy it. Don't rip us out of it, right? And what Aubrey just gave you is also, it's a perfect note as you get off book, and it will happen as you get off book, but now you can apply that as well. So I can't wait to see this next week.
Yeah. Well, and Karen, I know that you're on book, which is even more of a testament to your talent and your craft. But I do wonder with you, do you find yourself, and I'm asking the question, I'm not saying this is a rhetorical question. I want you to answer, or if you don't feel comfortable answering, then you don't need to. But I do wonder how aware of yourself you become in the scene, and that's when you hold back, because there is a well of emotion and there that I want to see more of, but I feel like you hold back. Am I off the mark?
Well, this is very new for me to
Okay.
be able to, well, first of all, this piece I just got like, I don't know, an hour before,
Sure.
before we're meeting
Yeah,
today.
of course,
So this is the first time I've really read through it much. But I've never done emotional acting, even just personally. My husband can probably count on one hand the amount of times he's seen me cry for real. I don't show that to anybody. And so it's a lot. Sean's like, I'm with you. So I'm learning myself as a person to do that more. So yeah, so it's all new for me.
It's easy. It's easier when you're an actor, I promise you. This is it's an odd thing, and it will spill over into your life. It absolutely will. But at least my personal experience was that this is a safer world to do that. And again, remember, you're the gift, right? That is the gift. And I think Aubrey's just pointing to the fact that it's so right there. We want more. We just
Okay.
we're like,
I
ooh.
just want to pull it out of you.
I also wasn't sure. I know that I'm Sean asked for someone, can you fill in? So I wasn't sure how much should I give in this reading. Am I supposed to just be a robot for her to read?
Give it all.
Or does she need to?
No,
Okay.
give it all. Give it all.
Okay.
You are the gift. You are the gift. Give us the gift.
All
Because
right.
we're here to accept it. I love getting gifts.
Can we go through it again? It's so short. I wanted to kind of take your note.
Yeah, let's do it.
Karen, just real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say, Karen, thanks for asking that question, because I was wondering the same thing when somebody says, "Hey, I have a scene and I need a reader." Are we just reading, or are we, hey, let's do this?
Okay. Great. Yes. All right. Got it. So for your benefit as an actor, you always go for it. Unless someone is requesting a stale or monotone read because they want to practice off of that, go for it.
Okay.
Unless it's specific. Because here's the deal, sometimes we do need to rehearse that, because you will walk into any number of rooms and the reader will not give you shit. You still have to work your magic. But there's no better way to work your magic than to work with another great actor actually giving you something.
Karen, give me the good shit.
Because now, once you've experienced that, now you can take that. You now have that. You now carry that. So it doesn't matter. You know the scene. You know the world, right? You can play it with a bullshit reader. They will try and fuck you up on purpose. The casting director will tell their assistant, don't give them anything. Nikkei will do that.
Mean.
All of them will do that. It's not mean. They have their own reasons, right? Who cares? Whatever that is, that's their own world. It's not a personal thing, but you have to be ready for anything. You're better off practicing with another great player. You're only going to experience it more.
And maybe it helps you shine better for them listening to a less active background, so they can really focus on you. That's probably why they do it.
Well, they want to make sure that you can, because look, you're going to be on set and you might be with the star, and they want to know that you can handle it when the star goes back to their trailer and you're looking at a dot on the wall.
Yeah.
We have to learn to make love to a dot on the wall.
Okay.
And make it real, right? That's what we do. And as you're coming up in the ranks, more often than not, you're looking at a stand-in, you're looking at a corner of the lens, you're not looking at even a human being, right? Stand-ins, of course, are human beings, but I'm saying you're not looking at the other actor a lot of the time. And that's nothing personal. Again, not on my sets, but unfortunately, that is what is. All right, let's do it again.
Sean, you also froze
Am I
on
frozen
mine,
again?
at least. Did
Yeah,
it freeze for anybody else?
the sound
Okay.
dropped. And Karen, you froze before that too. So
Okay.
I was like, who's talking? Is there someone else in the scene? Because you were frozen.
Okay, here we go.
Zoomlandia.
Have you decided to go to the trial?
I'm not going to your fucking trial.
Why not, honey? She needs to pay for her incompetence.
Is this about money?
No,
Is it about what people think?
it's about you. It's about you having to face this thing.
I'm facing this. I'm facing it. I'm facing it.
Well, I don't think you are. We need some justice here.
No, you need. It's what you want. It's what you need. It's your way. It's not my way. It's what you need.
Martha, if I had had my way, you'd be holding your baby in your arms right now.
You know what? You're ashamed. You're so ashamed of me because I failed. Oh, what a disgrace. What a disgrace. I failed.
Yes,
You're fucking ashamed.
I am ashamed. I'm ashamed of me that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't a good enough mother to teach you how to stand up and speak for yourself and how to deal with this, like my mother taught me. When my father went into the ghetto, my mother found a shack that was empty, and she went in and gave birth to me without any help at all. She stashed me under the floorboards so she could go out and steal food and make enough milk, but just enough milk that I was strong enough, but not enough to cry, so we wouldn't be found. And when she finally got me to a doctor, he advised her to just let me go, that I wasn't strong enough to survive. But then she insisted, and he picked me up by my feet and held me up like a chicken and said, if she tries to lift her head, then there's hope. And you know what I did? I lifted my head. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Lift your head, go and fight for yourself. For God's sakes, go out there, face this woman, and let her know what it feels like for you now. You have to do this, Martha. You have to go and speak your truth. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to deal with this. You're never going to be able to move on.
Just stop it.
How did that feel? You fogging up there a little bit?
Did it again. I can cry on camera. So they pay me the big bucks in the movie studios.
Thank you. It was a delight to read with you, Karen, and thanks
You
for
as well.
stepping in for
Karen, there's a perfect example of what you can do with a cold read.
Yeah.
You can still act, guys, while reading, but you have to learn, right? And that was awesome. And I know you're learning, and I know you feel like you're learning, but you bring so much to the table, Karen. And so much about this journey is just, take the notes, especially the ones that are telling you you're doing it and you've got it because you do, right? Sean, I think you will see the difference. I definitely did. I think those were some lovely adjustments
Okay.
And if anyone who watches the playback, it's subtle, but subtle is huge.
Very.
You know, that very tiny subtle thing is huge. It's so massive and makes such a huge difference.
All right.
I felt like nothing stood out on that second time,
Okay.
right? Aubrey?
I completely agree with Coach, but now I want to take it a step further with you, Sean, because we see the groundedness that you're capable of. We see that subtlety. I feel like this is a good time for you to take this particular piece apart and just practice. This is just an example. Your line is, "I was ashamed," right?
Yes.
That's one of your lines.
Yeah.
So this is what I saw. This is what I saw. I was ashamed. I want you to practice this. I was ashamed. Everything's relaxed.
Okay.
Everything's relaxed. We need to have moments from you where it's not so heightened.
Okay. So it's very,
You see what I mean?
yes, I was.
We need to relax.
Okay.
We need you to definitely just relax your
And to
face.
deliver that, I was ashamed. Because it's a very,
Yeah.
that's a very,
Well, and
Yeah.
what you'll find, guys, what you'll find when we, again, Eric mentioned the facial gymnastics, right? The trying, it's a push. I don't care how slight. When you can stop, let go, and let just the word, what you're going to discover is the fastest route to the actual emotion,
okay.
the pure raw emotion, which will give you an expression naturally. What we're after is the true feeling, right? Not about showing. If you feel it, we will get it.
All right.
So when we, and you have to be willing to do nothing. Relax, let it all go. Trust the words. Trust the words.
Thank you.
Don't worry if you need to hear it 100 times. Whatever it is, you're not doing anything wrong. We're making the unrealistic seem realistic, right? We have a lot of contradictions. We have a lot, but man, when you get it and when you feel it, it's such a beautiful thing. And this is the thing. This is the truth. It's the vibration, the true vibration. If you're feeling it, you don't got to worry about anything else. You really don't at that point because it's happening. Right? So, and it's the perfect time for that note that Aubrey gave you because we've been chipping away
Right.
at the exterior. It's lovely. And I hope you're happy. I think you're going to be very happy watching that playback.
Yeah.
It was a great adjustment. It really
Beautiful.
was. Both of you. Both
Beautiful.
of you. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
Yay.
yes.
And so I know it might be 2 weeks, Karen, but get off book because this is a perfect piece for you to be playing in. And
yeah, and I will just send Ashley a note and tell her because I will be missing too and then be back. So I would love to share it with you again. I'll just let her know that. So
Great.
she can work on her other things.
great.
Does that work for you?
Is that the Ashley who's here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's here.
Oh, is she here? Oh,
She hopped on
tonight?
late.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ashley, I thought you said you weren't going to be here tonight. I didn't
yeah.
see you in the gallery.
I was able to come in, so I did.
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay. So
Popped in at 8:30 ish.
Karen read with me, and so I'll just let her do it next time. So you have other
No,
things.
no, that was good. That was great.
So okay. I
All right, thank
you
you,
said you
guys.
weren't going to be in, so I thought, okay, I'll ask Karen. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. Up next, Jennifer Simmons and Sharon, and then Ramsey's on deck.
Woohoo.
This is a strange audition. I saw it on Backstage, and it was for Surviving the Cartel. And so I was like, oh, well, there's a bunch of roles that I thought would be fun. So they just sent me a whole bunch of sides. I picked out a couple, but the audition process is really strange, and it almost sounds kind of like, you saw that too? Yeah, and I think it's kind of a scam in a way, but they want you to audition, you turn it in, and then with everybody else's audition, they will make the page live and people will vote on who gets the role.
But
So I'm like,
they
okay,
have to pay. They have to pay to vote.
oh, I didn't know that. So yeah, so they're capitalizing on our, yeah. I can't hear you, Aubrey, you're muted. What? Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's loud and clear right there.
Yeah.
So we can play with it. We can play with it. I would check in with your agent before you submit this.
Yeah, I'm not going to give them content for free.
Yeah.
They're going to profit on it.
Especially because, I mean, it's one thing to have people vote on it, but if people have to pay to vote on it.
Yeah.
Because they're not paying you. Because they're not paying you. They're getting a free performance.
Right.
And it's just, smart little scheme.
I could do that. I could do that. Here, everyone
talk to
throw
Jesse
me an
about that, because
audition.
that's what he's doing Thursday.
Oh, is that Jesse's Thursday thing?
Yeah,
shit,
I saw
really?
that. Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's a way to get, some sides to work.
So if I post something, will you guys all pay me to vote for it or something?
Well, that's just it. Yeah, right.
Go to my Facebook friends, like 500 Facebook friends, and be like, hey, if you want to pay me to see my friend's audition,
we can
Venmo.
we can run a poll. We got 500 plus members to the Coach Rick group. We run our own little deal. Hey, you want to vote? Pitch in $1. We got party money.
There you go. Okay.
Maybe we can do a monologue thing on your Facebook page where people can submit and then have people vote on it. Something fun like
right.
that.
We could do that.
Okay. Well, we're going to just play with this anyway because it's here and we're up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty. Ready, Sharon?
Yes.
Okay. And we just got these sites today, so. Thank you, Chairman Barber. Mr. Cardona, we appreciate you being here, but why is your CEO not present at this hearing? Yes, I read it. I'm asking for the public. They didn't read it.
Chairman Kemp, our CEO, had a heart attack and he's currently recovering at the hospital.
Okay. Thank you. Today's hearing is special. It's special because of what happened during the last election wasn't ordinary. Mr. Cardona, it's worth noting some amazing facts about your company. With more than 2.1 billion active users per month, 1.7 billion per day, and 47 billion American dollars in revenue last year. IntuVista is actually the biggest social media platform in the world. Mr. Cardona, what your company has achieved is remarkable. This remarkable success comes with big responsibilities. It's not acceptable that a sophisticated company like yours that has master algorithms can't secure the data of its consumers, the data of the American public. Today, you'll be given the opportunity to explain how this breach of trust has happened and how you plan to fix it.
Thank you. Now, Ranking Member Gregory.
Okay, that's it.
Why that face?
Yeah.
It just felt weird.
No, Jennifer, you were made for the procedural drama. Like you are ready to be the Supreme Court judge. You are ready to be the doctor. Like you are just ready.
Absolutely a judge. Yes.
I felt like I was watching C-SPAN. Like
but here's something, guys.
But in a great way.
Here's something that you could so use to your advantage in the audition, even on set. Those numbers that you're rattling off, you are reading.
She is reading them.
Yes. So first of all, if you got some reading glasses, you should really be,
I was
you
gonna
know,
play with
you
that.
should really be playing this sucker right here. And you should be literally reading the numbers as you go back and forth. You don't have those memorized, right? When I was in General Hospital, I was going through my notepad telling the guy who hired me, right, whatever I was investigating. This is what happens on a professional set. Props writes out the actual lines in the notepad. I was flipping, all my lines were in my notepad. I could literally read them as I was going through this. I was like, this is fucking awesome. I have my little fucking professional, flip page cheat sheet here, right? So use that. You are reading that. You have to, you act. Why? I mean, okay, you could be a brilliant judge and all, but you have case after case after case. So you're like, you know what? You guys, and then you guys have done this and this and this, and I mean, you have done something, and so absolutely, it's a given that you are reading. Use it.
Yeah, I mean,
You kind of did, but it should be on purpose.
yeah. Well, I just wanted to play with it, and I wanted your opinion on what that whole scammy sounding deal was, and
It's scammy sounding.
scammy sounding deal.
Yes.
So yeah, that was just fun. Thank you. I don't want to waste any more time doing that.
No, that's all right.
Oh, thank you.
Sharon,
Oh,
lovely work as
love
well,
it.
my dear.
Yes, thank you,
really,
Sharon.
Really enjoying. I'm enjoying everyone's growth.
Yeah.
It's just obvious. You guys keep bringing it. So nice work.
Thanks.
Lovely.
Ramsey's
Ramsey's up,
Ramsey.
and Tabitha. Why did I say that? Tabitha and Sean are on deck.
She's kind of like a tabby.
Tabitha.
She's kind of like a tabby.
Tabby.
Our boy Ramsey, speaking of booking in Seattle, yeah, with Amazon. This is no joke. We're already talking negotiating season 2 and season 3, ladies and gentlemen. So now, granted, it's 4 episodes a season,
Wow.
right?
So proud.
But
Is Michael managing you?
He might be.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Michael is starting to work with Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I helped make that connection there. So he is agent in training.
Who is Michael?
Michael is his roommate and fellow filmmaker and classmate. Well, he was done with the program before you were, or was he when you were there?
He was done a year before me.
Okay.
I met him, skeleton crew. We met each other just on set.
Right. And so Aubrey and I know Michael because we worked on Ramsey's capstone, and he was the
AD?
We was AD, but he was kind of producer as well, right?
He was everything.
Yes.
Yeah, he was
everything.
He was multiple hats. Mike's a good guy. Definitely someone you want with the organization, the AD-ness of it all. Absolutely. I could never be AD, just like I could never be stage manager. I can't handle myself. I can't handle other people. They're very, very special people, special minds. So yeah, what do we got, Ramsey?
Just a quick little promo ad. I was supposed to shoot this week, but I added my own flair to it. So I kind of just want to see how it pops for you guys. Just the tone they want, quirky, fun, and driving. So that's really it. And I got to get used to talking to the camera. I mean, I do it in my YouTube thing, but that's about 3 minutes. This will be a half-hour segment. So when I got the script, but it's like 9 pages. So I want to work it, in sections in class, just so you're not sitting there listening to me ramble on for fucking 20 minutes or whatever that.
Well, I'm definitely. So listen, if you're driving, you can't be looking at the camera the whole time anyway. That's a beautiful thing. So you're going to reference to the camera, but you got to have your eyes on the road.
No. Quirky fun and driving, like you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, not like driving.
Okay.
He's like,
Okay. All right. Well, because I'm like, hey, dude, you gotta fucking watch the road when you're driving.
no,
What the
no,
hell?
no.
All right, I got it.
Oh, sorry. Before we get started, Sean Brow said she's in video jail. If you could unlock her, does that mean let her in?
No,
Oh,
I
and
forgot
Tabitha
to
said me
close-
too.
I forgot to close my window, so he closed us, and then it puts us in jail.
Oh,
Okay, hang
Sorry.
on.
and Tabitha.
We are in the timeout corner.
No, I didn't put you in the waiting room. Okay, well, what do I need here? Oh, ask to start video.
There we go.
Was
Thank you.
that was Sean? Where's Tabitha? There's Tabitha. Hang on. Ask to start video. Yeah. So when you guys don't shut your videos, I'll shut you down. When we have a two-person scene, we will change because I have Ramsey pinned to speaker. All right, Ramsey, whenever you're ready.
Have you ever been watching an NBA game and thought to yourself, what if Michael Jordan, the absolute GOAT, were still playing today? Or what if Tom Brady picked up a baseball over a football? If you feel like you're alone and you're kind of crazy in this idea, trust me, you're not.
You're doing great. You're all right.
Trust me, you're not. Us sports fans, we can rejoice and come debate with us on WTF, an almost real sports show, a place where us sports fans, we can live out our wildest, craziest sports fantasies all in one place.
What's the
I kind
matter?
of want to play with something. Is it wrong? Is it wrong?
No, it's not wrong.
Can we play? Because you're talking about fantasies,
Oh,
right?
Aubrey, you already
Do you know what I mean? We're talking about fantasies. I kind of want it to be sexy. I don't know. I'm just playing. Just try it. Because you came off really strong. I kind of want you to do your laid back, sexy thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's a layer and a flavor that you can add to what you already have.
Yeah.
It's not one or the other. It's something that makes sense to add to the mix, though, which gives you multiple gear shifts, right? It's going to give you another couple of gear shifts in here. So we got quick transitions, which just shows a higher level of expertise. It's not easy, but it makes a lot of sense.
I may be the wrong demographic, though. I think this might be the wrong direction, considering I'm a woman and you're talking about fantasies. It's probably different when you're talking to dudes. It's like, dudes, have you ever thought about like putting your like I don't know, like
whoa.
I don't know how dudes talk. How do dudes talk to each other about fantasies? I don't know. Like, how do guys talk to each other?
It's a sports fantasy. So it'd be like if Michael Jordan were still playing today, that's a fantasy.
Right, but is that sexy to men?
No.
Or is that just no? Okay. Well then, this
Me
is probably a
thinking another
horrible.
man playing today is not sexy to me. Me thinking Tom
Well then,
Brady
forget my note.
playing
Well then,
baseball.
forget my note.
No, I mean it's something I can explore.
But there's an element to this that makes a lot of sense, and it's not.
Thank you for wanting to explore with us, Ramsey.
It's not sexy like porn music. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun's coming on, but it is that. Oh man, can you picture this? Oh, it has that. Right. It has an element of it. It's not sex, but sexy is still sexy, which is a longing. There is a longing in that.
The trust me you're not, I added that because I don't really like what they said. Does that work, or do you need to hear it again? If you need to hear it again, I can do it again.
I think you should do it again just to play
Yep.
anyway, but I didn't hear anything that didn't make sense.
I felt like that line, "You're not alone, trust me," was very reassuring because I can see this kind of being a conversation about like, oh my God, you're a nerd. You think about that? What? And it's like, no, apparently a lot of people wonder this stuff. You're not alone, you
Right.
know?
That's
So
what I wanted it to kind of come off.
Well,
yeah,
and
that's kind of what I got.
you are
It's
the
like, fear not. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
but
Fear
yeah,
not.
no, but it gives you the cue that you are the wiser one in the equation leading the way. And like, are you that much of a dork? Don't worry about it. So am I.
Yeah.
So are
Absolutely.
we.
This
Yeah.
is the place. This is where we're going to fucking play. Right? All right, let's do it.
Have you ever been watching an NBA game and thought to yourself, what if Michael Jordan, the absolute GOAT, were still playing today? Or what if Tom Brady picked up a baseball instead of a football? Forgot my fucking line. Let me restart. I don't know why I forget this. Have you ever been watching an NBA game and thought to yourself, what if Michael Jordan, the absolute GOAT, were still playing today? Or what if Tom Brady picked up a baseball instead of a football? Now, if you feel alone and kind of crazy, trust me, you're not. Us sports fans, we can rejoice and debate with us on WTF, an almost real sports show, a place where us diehard sports fans can come and live out our wildest sports fantasies.
How'd that feel?
It felt good. I'm just, like I said, I can change the lines. So I like to try new things to see which line I like better.
My only concern is your volume.
Yeah.
I like the energy. I like the intensity. The volume may take us away from it feeling real. And I think that's really important, is that we feel that you're feeling this. The more genuine you are, the more gold this is. So a little more conversational, perhaps, as opposed to presentational. Aubrey, what do you think about that?
Whoa, what did I do? I completely agree, because you're starting out your whole thing with, have you ever wondered? And when you wonder something, it's internal. And so I feel like that you need to start us off not very still, because I understand a big part of your presenter is that you are free flowing. But I think there would be more of a hook for us if you were somewhat more subdued and really contemplating that, wondering like, if Michael Jordan were still playing today, or if so-and-so are still blah, 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 because I don't know sports, but do you know what I mean? Like, because you're still.
Well, it gives you room to travel
wondering.
too. It gives you
Yeah,
room
and
to
it gives
travel
you a
to
journey.
excitement, right? If we
Yes.
start, imagine if you will. Anyone who's old knows that that's the greatest setup.
Twilight Zone,
because that's
Twilight Zone.
Exactly. Imagine if you will. Boom. The stage is set. Bring it, right? So, and this could be a hook for you. Have you ever? It's an invitation. Come in.
Okay, and I think that's what I meant with this. I think that's what I meant with the sexy thing. I think that's what I was trying to get to, is maybe it needs to be more subdued, because it's more of a, have you ever thought about this type thing?
Yeah, you're inviting them in.
Yeah.
Just to clarify then, with his piece compared to mine, because his is very animated and moving, but it works because it's such an energized, right? And so depending upon the part, sometimes you
yeah.
really want that super still, and other times it's okay to
Well, the difference between acting a scene and being a host.
Okay.
He is the host of a live show here.
Of course. Okay.
So yes, absolutely. Well, no, but we have to understand the different genres, mediums, and all of it. So comedy would be where the actor gets to be this animated. A lot of comedy gives you that theater-esque feel. You get to be big again. Hosting, especially something along these lines, they fell in love with him. They loved him. They loved his callback, and like the changes he's making, he's getting leeway here. He's getting to create because they're trusting him. So the more play you bring to this, Ramsey, the better. But what we're giving you now, like always, though, is levels, right? Be careful with starting out on 10, start out on a 6 and then peak with a Jordan on a 10 and come back and give us, ooh, and what about this? And what about this? Oh, but what about that? There's your sexy, right? There's the invitation of like, again, you keep drawing them in. Oh man, am I going to take you for a ride? Right?
Yeah. Ramsey, how are you feeling?
Good. I didn't do it. I'd like to do it again.
Okay.
If not, it's not a big deal.
Oh, that's a very interesting point, Tabitha. Yeah, I mean, we all need to. So Tabitha just said that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Your facial structure, a raised eyebrow for one person is different than for another. My general, kind of catchphrase is a raised eyebrow is a huge move. But absolutely, Ramsey raising his eyebrows is going to be different from Sean raising your eyebrows. It's just facial structure and how it expresses. So we all, yes, need to be aware of that.
Yeah. And I think we have time for you to go one more time, Ramsey. Yeah, it's short, so.
Have you ever been watching an NBA game and thought to yourself, what if Michael Jordan, the absolute GOAT, were still playing today? Or what if Tom Brady picked up a baseball over a football? Now, if you feel crazy and you feel like you're alone in this, trust me, you're not. Because us sports fans, we can rejoice and debate with us on WTF, an almost real sports show. A place where us sports fans, us die-hard sports fans, can come together and live out our wildest sports fantasies.
Oof. I like that. Ramsey, you got to watch that playback, brother. Now, what I want to add to that is towards the end of that, little more smiling, more from the inside and the joy of what's coming. It was a beautiful setup. You're going to see it. I know you will, because I know you know what you're looking at. Yes. And everyone was clapping and stuff like that. We all saw it.
Yeah.
Guys, less is more. What we did is we kind of pulled him back. We toned it down, and it's more powerful.
Yep.
It's a powerful setup, but you can reassure them with that. Also, it's a funny line. This almost sports show. Is that the line?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. You have to acknowledge that as you say it with this almost sports show, right? I mean, you're in for something here because this is new.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it isn't new. It's new, and you're selling it as new, right? Yeah, nice adjustment. You'll see that.
Really nice adjustment. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way to go. Because are they filming this? Are they doing this a mid shot or are they doing this close up? Do you know yet?
Yeah, so they want me, this is separate, like I said, this is just the promo ad, but they want me the medium and then close.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So definitely, like, your energy is so good, but the one other thing I'll let you know is you're gonna see it in the playback is that when you first start out, you squint so much that we lose your eyes,
Mhm.
and we don't want to lose your eyes.
yeah.
And then you'll see when you watch it back that at the very, very end, you relax and smile, and it's so reassuring. You're gonna take
Bold.
us on this ride,
Yeah.
and we're gonna trust you to do it. I think that needs to be peppered throughout, in a way. We need that calm, confident Ramsey,
Mhm.
and we need to be able to see your eyes. And yeah.
You're the expert, buddy.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. Yeah, you're the expert. You're gonna
the
take us on the journey.
You're the expert. Okay. So walk forward with that. We're gonna keep playing with that. I'm working with Ramsey. He'll be on Mondays, but I'm also working with him as well. So, but I'm really glad that people get to watch this, because this is real time, work happening as well. And this is a definite possibility of what's out there, and I think it's only going to grow, not just with the internet, but COVID and post-COVID and all that stuff. They're designing these shows more and more for the internet, and
Yep.
yeah, you're a game, a talk show host, podcaster, whatever. I mean, a lot of past podcasters are just audio, right? So to be able to do the video portion of it, it screams a lot. This is, it's it's no small deal, regardless of what the size of the audience is or anything like that. It's a huge nod. It's a huge accomplishment, and you're working it, and that's great, and it's looking good.
Thank you. Well, also, I'll be the only one in studio, so this is like a big test for the Amazon studio in Seattle to see if it works and they can do it safely. So they told me that today at the production meeting. I said, "Oh, great! So it all relies on my shoulders. So hopefully I don't get sick or anything like that." But
No, Ramsey's moving back home for a month, guys, because he's got 4 episodes to shoot. So he'll be tuning in from Seattle area on Mondays when he joins us. Yeah, this is all freaking awesome. This is good stuff. Yeah, brother, nice work.
thank you.
You've been working. You've put it out into the universe, and you're reaping the benefits. So go
Sorry,
get him, Ramsey.
I wasn't all sexy for you, Aubrey. I tried to.
It's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
I just didn't know if you
forgive
could
you.
handle it. Your screen might melt. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, please. Oh,
Hey.
please.
That right there.
That right there.
That guy. That right there is what you want to bring. That play. There's so much play in this. Okay.
Keep it playful.
Yeah.
Playful.
Yeah, absolutely. Your expertise is going to be more powerful with more play as opposed to trying to drive it. Don't muscle anything. There's no muscle in this. You don't have to muscle. This is the playful ride. Oh, no, don't worry about it. You're in the right place in this almost, whatever show, right? Trust me, I'm a freak just like you. We're good. This is going to be great. Come on, let's party. And I hate this.
Yeah, the pitfall would be trying to take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
Never take yourself too seriously.
Absolutely. This is like commercial on steroids. This is the kind of stuff you need to come up with in commercials. I can absolutely coach you guys in it, but will always be honest. I hate it. I don't want to do it myself. Right. And so I don't. I'll turn them down. I'm not saying you guys should. this is bread and butter for a lot of people. People live off of this stuff, make careers off of this stuff. And if you can learn to do this and be okay with it, by all means, do. Just because I like to be the old curmudgeon doesn't mean you have to. And I told Ramsey's like, I wish I could do that too. I'm like, yeah, but you're too young and too good looking. You can't. You have to do this now. Right?
Plus, this is fun. This is fun.
This is fun. This is really fun. This is.
You should be doing this, Ramsey. This is exactly the stuff you should be doing.
It's a sweet
No,
spot.
I'm talking about the Washington State Lotto commercials where it's like,
oh.
Yeah.
Hey, don't.
I hate
that. Hey, those pay very well for one day. So.
Oh, this is recorded. Never mind. I absolutely love Washington State Lottery. Keep sending me the text.
That's right. That's fucking right. I'm so sorry, guys. But it is 10:30, and I am so sorry to Tabitha and Sean. Bill said he'd already. Bill said he would be willing to go next Monday. If people want to stick around, it's up to you, Tabitha and Sean. Do you want to do your scene one time, and anyone who can't stay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy to stay.
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
Do it.
Rock
Do
and
it.
roll.
Like a long.
Yeah.
Great. Bill, you got something?
I just an idle question. I've been seeing this little square down here saying Peter.
Okay.
Who is Peter?
Oh, you've seen Peter before.
Yeah.
Peter, where's your face? Say hi.
Peter.
Peter.
There he
There's
is.
Peter.
It's Peter.
Okay. I just just an idle question. I must be getting tired. So good night.
Hi, Peter.
And Bill, if you, okay, I guess he left. Well, if anyone remembers, Bill gets to go first next Monday.
Unless there's an audition.
Unless there's an audition.
And then we'll put Bill on top. So if you guys can shut your cameras down so we can get Sean and Tabitha rock and roll. I'm going to hide non-video participants. All right, you guys have the floor whenever you're ready.
Okay. He and the grandmother discussed better times. The old lady said that, in her opinion, Europe was entirely to blame for the way things were now. She said,
What are you reading?
oh, Flannery O'Connor. It was my favorite when I was Abigail's age. I was obsessed. I even tried to raise peacocks because she did. Peacocks are really stupid birds.
Well, you could be reading to a killer.
Well, innocent until proven guilty and all that. So I am about to broach the subject of the Takes One to Know One article.
Oh, that. Jack send you?
No, I sent me.
I don't think we've ever been in a room alone, have we?
I haven't noticed, have we? Not that we're really alone now.
Yeah, right. So back to Jack Crawford's crime gimp.
Yeah, it certainly creates an image. I don't need to talk about it if you don't.
No. We can talk about or not talk about whatever you want. Actually, I was just enjoying listening to you read.
You know, Abigail Hobbs is a success story for you.
She didn't look like a success.
Don't feel sorry for yourself because you saved this girl's life.
I don't. I don't feel sorry for myself. I feel good.
Okay.
Wow. Why did that make me? Why did that
No,
make me at the end like?
Because that was fucking awesome. That's why.
So beautiful.
Okay,
That was so
what
nice.
is this from?
This is from Hannibal, yes?
Yes, this is from
Okay.
season 1, episode like 3 or something.
And
And
who brought this scene in?
I did.
Tabitha, you brought this? Okay. So Flink,
And I just got it the
this today?
very. You just got this today?
Yesterday?
I sent it to him
Yesterday.
yesterday.
Okay.
Okay.
And I just got at the very end that Sean, you're like the cop or something, yes?
Yeah, he's Will. He's
so.
the psychotic
Okay,
one
and
who's
you're
helping Hannibal.
well, this is okay. So this is how great this scene was, is that by the very end, I totally understood where we were. Like I totally understood. I understood the dynamic because at first I was wondering if Sean, if Flink was playing like Hannibal or playing the killer or whatever, but it became very clear you're the therapist, he's the cop. Yes?
Yep.
Oh, this, yeah. Ooh, okay.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
coach. Go ahead.
No, it was a wow. Not that that's a surprise. But that last moment, Flink was, and what was funny is that you're blinking, but it so works. In that, look, we have rules so we can break them, right? I mean, that's really it. You really do have to learn the rules, and then there's always going to be a moment to break it, and that's always super exciting. And that was such a lovely button, right? That's what we call the button. We're done with the words, and like, don't drop out of the scene. Stay in it, because there's so much going on. There's still life happening there. And we're with you on that, because you're like, yeah, sure, I guess. And
there was so much in that, sure, I guess. It just spoke novels. It spoke novels.
Yes.
It was like, oh, you regret saving her, or you feel guilty because you saved her, but she's mangled for life. Or like, I just saw so many images in my mind just from you having that inner conflict. I'm such a fan.
And Tabitha, who are you in this scene? Who is your character?
Her name is Alana. She was Will. That's his character is Will. She was Will's therapist before. He's here at the FBI Academy, but she's not his therapist now. But she understands the cases he's been on, what he's done, and what he's going through mentally. So
you're speaking to him as a friend.
Yeah, I'm not even his therapist anymore. I'm just there to kind of check up on him, because the lead detective is like, make sure he doesn't fall into a pit. And I'm like, well, you're sending him to a pit every day.
Yeah.
So it's like that essence of trying to gauge where he's at and if he's going to be able to stay mentally competent. Because the girl that they're in the hospital room with, he shot her father 10 times. And he had never been able to shoot anybody before in his life. He actually had to leave homicide because they were like, dude, you can't handle a weapon. You don't know how to shoot. You're afraid to shoot people. We can't have you. You're a liability. And so then he comes into this room with this serial killer who's literally about to slash his daughter's throat open, and he shoots him 10 times and saves the daughter's life like within moments. Right. So for him, he's like, I orphaned this child, but her dad was a serial killer.
Oh, okay.
So where do I go with this? I have this obligation to this kid now because I've orphaned her. So now I feel like her dad, but I'm also a psycho, so she's just trying to gauge, like, where are you at now? Because
are you guys going to be romantically involved?
There was an element of that. They have an attraction, and I think at some point they do end up kissing, but she recognizes, like, I can't do this.
That's not right.
Professionally detached.
Well, yeah, sure.
But we still need to play that element.
Yeah.
We still really need to play that element.
It's so easy to have the hots for your therapist.
It's so easy.
It's so easy. It's so easy.
One who actually gets to know all of your secret crap, and you're like, she loves me.
And doesn't judge you.
Care
and doesn't
about
judge
me
you.
anyway, and doesn't judge. Yeah.
They're not judging me.
Warts
See, they love me for who I am.
Yeah, you don't get anybody else in your life, and unfortunately, you forget they're paid to be like that.
And I felt there was kind of a moment like that between you two, Flink, when you said that you like listening to her
Mhm.
read. That was the
Right.
first moment where I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. But I think I want to see Tabitha have more of a reaction to that, that you
Okay.
that you like that he likes hearing you read.
I like
Because
that.
you like reading to him.
Yeah.
You like reading to him. You enjoy each other's company. We
Yeah.
need to see that.
Yeah,
I think I do. I
don't-
think I need
I
to
don't-
see more of a smile from you, Tabitha. I think I do. I need to see more of a smile from you because I feel sympathy from you a lot. I see a lot happening in your eyes where you feel very sympathetic towards him, but I think we need more enjoyment. Oh, what's wrong? Sorry, guys.
It's 10:45 and she's still.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
That's me
sweet.
right now too, Chica. I get it.
But Tabitha had also, I don't think you'd follow through if you didn't care about him. Right?
Yeah.
You know how to be professional. You know how to distance yourself because that's your job and you are good at your job. So the fact that you're here is already going beyond those bounds, right? So we're kind of breaking some rules. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Right.
I'm not judging. But I mean, yeah, right? Because technically, no, privately, nothing. Nope.
Yeah.
But Chief was like, hey, I need you to make sure he's not. Yeah, I can follow up on him.
Right. And she finds a way to do it because he's not actually in the hospital. He's just asleep on the bed in the girl's room, watching over her overnight. He
Yeah.
falls asleep on the couch, and the therapist is like, I'm going to come in and read to this girl, knowing that it'll wake him up and she can have a chance to talk to him. So she kind of, I feel like, orchestrated the whole thing so that she could still, in a professional sense, just checking up on the patient, also check up on Will.
Now, when I say you could be
Very
reading to a killer, am I talking about me or the girl?
There is a theory that the girl helped her
Okay.
dad murder
That's
all
what I thought, because that's why I was looking at her. Okay.
Yeah, like you realize you could be reading to a killer. And he's also, when he was told that, he immediately was like, why? She's not a part of it. I don't know why you would say that. He's unwilling to believe that, but he knows that's what's being said. So he says it to
Okay.
her almost sarcastically,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Frank, I gotta come back to you here. I'm really happy with your choices.
Thank you.
And I want you to be happy with your choices.
Mhm.
Watch the playback and enjoy, because we all did. And Tabitha, it's about fucking time.
Yeah. Man.
Tabitha's back in the house.
Yeah.
You've been missed.
You've been so missed.
Yes. So
I have been missing this for sure. Like I was saying when I posted online, I wasn't bullshitting. It is ridiculous when you stop going to class and you stop doing auditions and you're just focusing on everything else. And then suddenly an audition comes up and I'm like, oh shit, I cut my hair. I don't have new headshots. What is the sight line? Like, what is camera? Oh my God. It felt so stupid. And I watched my playback and I was like, you know what? Sending it. Boop. Like, I didn't have it to give because it was going to be late. But after that, I was just like, this is bullshit. I shouldn't be in this position. I should know what I'm doing because this is the job I want to have. But that's one of those things when you're dealing with like anxiety and depression and a job and
life.
at
Just
4 o'clock in the
okay.
morning, you're just like, I don't have it. I don't have it to give. But that's finally what I've come to is like, this is where I want my focus to be. My last day of work was today. They gave me my 2 weeks and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's taking me away from all the stuff I love. You guys aren't appreciating the value that I'm giving you. So bye. Like I would rather focus on this. I would rather focus on losing weight because unfortunately that's a part of getting the roles that I want to achieve. And sure, maybe once I'm rich and famous someday, I can promote body positivity. But for now, I got to play the game so I can get my foot in the door so I can do my fucking work. So that's the point. I'm here. I'm back.
Hey, so I mean, if you want to take care of yourself, take care of yourself. You're perfect the way you are right now, period. There are roles for you right now. And do not, because I can speak from experience, you'll torture yourself. Like I have to be a certain weight. Be careful with the shoulds, right? Stop shoulding on yourself. There, don't should on yourself. Just you're following your heart. That's a great thing. And if you want to lose weight for you, then absolutely not for the industry, not for a supposed job that doesn't exist, because it doesn't. The sooner you just get in touch with, I get to do what I love. That's the most important thing. And there's no question that you love it. We saw it on day one, back in the day, and you've always shown up as such. And now you get to be back. And that's the best part of it. That's enough. Just keep coming back and it'll all start to unfold as everything else continues to open. So yeah.
And as far as this piece goes, especially since this seems to be a character aspect that you're liking to see Sean play into, should I bring in more Hannibal stuff for us?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, look, don't worry about Flink. Don't do it for Flink. You want to bring in this character, absolutely.
Does it feel like a fun thing to do in class?
Well, no, look, I think this character is great for you. What I love is the intelligence. You play well in that, but I mean, you play well in street as well.
It also might be too on the nose, but Tabitha, do you watch Schitt's Creek?
No.
Okay, because I swear to God, this was a role that you could have been cast in and could probably do way better. Not that I don't like this girl, but you have this deadpan Stevie. Yeah, Stevie.
Yes.
Stevie.
Look
She
at
owns
that.
the
I was like,
motel.
yes.
She's sarcastic.
I haven't seen
Yes,
it, but I heard
Stevie.
people
I
talking
see her-
about it. Now I have to watch it.
Yes.
Every time I see Stevie, I think of you.
Yep.
Like
That's
Definitely.
So watch Schitt's Creek. The first episode would actually be great for you because it really showcases Stevie's just dry deadpan delivery. So
Also
if you need a
Moira.
comedic,
Yes. I want a Moira part.
yes. Oh, I know. The baby. Cool.
Hey, before we go, at the beginning of
Yeah.
class, were you talking about, did you just get some new headshots done?
Yeah, where are they?
Is that with the conversation?
Yes.
Can you
Aubrey-
post
Yes.
that
Aubrey
in the
did.
list where you got them? Or
Oh,
tell me now?
Yes, I will
Emily
post.
B. Jones.
Yes,
Emily
Emily
Jones.
Jones. Emily Jones
Great.
photography.
Guys,
Everybody needs to go to Emily Jones.
go-
She has a new space.
Okay,
Yay.
well, we're not, but yes. We just got to be careful again on recordings and stuff like that. We love Emily. There's lots of great
Oh.
photographers out there, but
right.
Oh yes.
I am bringing my daughter and myself for my next round of headshots to Emily, myself. Aubrey just shot, and she only showed us a couple that were phenomenal. That green, all of it. Yeah. So if you look at her story on, I think Instagram, they're up there. I don't know if they're still up there.
Oh, okay.
I'll
But
post
yes,
more
she'll
'cause
post
she gave
it.
me a
She'll
lot.
post
She
it on
gave
the
me a
thread.
lot.
Post on the thread and just
Mhm.
tell
I'll post
her.
on. Mhm.
Let her know that you're coming from Rick and Aubrey, right, at Coach Rick's, because I wanted to know that we're in love with her as well. I got to act with her briefly,
Sending people. Yeah.
and she is an actor as well, which I
Yes.
think helps.
It totally
absolutely.
helps.
She is an
and it
artist and a mama
Yeah.
and just a wonderful human being.
Yep.
Yeah.
And her new studio is this beautiful shed behind her house. It's got three walls are completely windows. And it's so much natural lighting. You're going to get absolutely beautiful shots. That's the only thing I meant by that. Cause of course, Chris Woolley with Heads and Tails, he's amazing as well. We love Chris Woolley. I'm just obsessed with Emily's new space that she just built with her husband. The lighting is just incredible, and we were done in an hour. Pretty much every picture she sent me 20 pictures. I can't choose. I love them all. The
That's
lighting is
awesome.
incredible.
That's
It
so awesome.
also doesn't hurt that you're gorgeous, Aubrey. I'll just have to
Well,
say
there's that too.
out there, you know.
Well, thanks, guys. But yes,
Good stuff. Good night.
good stuff. Night, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Tabitha. Night, everybody.
All right. We'll see
Night.
you guys later. Have a good night.